And welcome to the Krueg Show. Larry Krueger with you after Warriors basketball, after baseball. That's right. And rolling for you on Saturday night. Giants win. Warriors win. Warriors lead the Nuggets 1-0. 16-point win for the Dubs. The playoff debut of Jordan Poole could not have gone a whole lot better than that. The Warriors get a win, and they're up 1-0 in the first round series. Cyrus Saatsaz from Hooked on Warriors podcast, longtime friend of mine, joins us.
Wait, Larry,
Locked on. Sorry. Locked on Warrior podcast joins us. And we're going to be visiting with Kylan Mills, I believe, as well from Cron 4. What's up, Cy? What'd you think? Big win.
Oh, dude, I'm waiting for John Abendroth and Mitch Albom. Was that the host of Hooked on Golf from all those years ago?
Don't forget Mitch Jurisic.
Thank you. Those are great human beings, by the way. I love those. Dude, I'm stoked, man. I mean, you're right. I think you said it. I don't know if it was before we started, but I don't think that could have gone any better. I mean, there are a lot of question marks for this team, clearly, and I'm glad. I'm more curious to know how you're feeling because you were on Locked On Warriors Friday. I'm not going to harp on you, man. Look, predictions are predictions. There's no way anyone can call what's going to happen in a series or in a game. And but how are you feeling now? I'm more curious to know because I feel like you represent.
I'm not feeling great because the Nuggets are just hurting. I mean, they're hurting. I mean, doing the deep dive on the Nuggets over the last couple of days. It's pretty clear that the Nugget team that I saw earlier this year is not the Nugget team we're going to see in this series. They come limping into this series. They're not playing great defense. They don't have a great secondary scorer behind Jokic. And so this is probably going to be a quick series in Golden State's favor after watching game one. I just thought of Denver with Jokic and the trouble they gave Golden State, that they would continue to give Golden State trouble. But man, Jordan Poole didn't show any, this was his playoff debut and we didn't know exactly how it would go. And he came out and looked terrific. I mean, Great first half. He had 17, 6 of 6 shooting, finished with 30 on the night. And if Jordan Poole is going to play like Steph Curry, it's going to be hard to beat the Warriors.
There's a lot of things to look at in this game. First of all, you're right. The Nuggets are a team like I was listening to a podcast the other day. I forgot which show it was, but they were saying of all the playoff teams, they might be the worst in the West, at least. Like if let's say you're the Phoenix Suns or whoever, and you actually got to pick who your first round opponent's going to be, I think the Nuggets would be the team you pick because you're right, man. Jamal Murray is, first of all, he's not going to play in this series. For anyone that thinks he's going to magically show up. I did a whole segment with Adam Modis. He hosts Locked On Nuggets, and he does a whole thing in Denver pertaining to the sports scene there. And he told me on Thursday, do not expect Murray. Even though physically he's doing okay, mentally he has not surpassed the hurdles that he needs to surpass in terms of feeling comfortable, in terms of feeling game ready. And if you're not mentally prepared, especially for the playoffs where mental toughness is everything, it's just not your scene. And so Jamal Murray's not going to play. Michael Porter Jr. is not going to play. So the Nuggets have, Will Barton. The Nuggets have
Aaron Gordon.
Morris. What's up?
Aaron Gordon.
And if I guess, do you think Aaron Gordon's a threat? I mean, he's
the wild card factor. He's the one guy that potentially could, score. Heck, they need him to score. To me, he's kind of their wild card factor. Because the points got to come from somebody, Jokic, as long as Jokic doesn't dominate Golden State as a passer, that's really the key, I think, for Jokic. If he gets his 25 and 10, 25 and 12, all right, you can live with that. What you don't want is 25, 12 and 9, or 25, 12 and 13. You just don't want him getting everybody else involved as a distributor. Because if he dominates the game as a passer, they're a much better basketball team. But Denver, they lack that secondary scorer. Their defense at the point of attack is just a disaster.
It is. That's honestly, Larry, that's one thing we neither of us touched on when we did the show yesterday. which was that Jokic, for all the accolades he's getting, I mean, look, it's really unbelievable to average be in the top 10 for the three major stats of points, assists, rebounds, and he did that. He's going to probably win the MVP for the second time in a row because of that. But the one thing that we all have glossed over, and funny enough, it didn't even hit me until after the show we did yesterday, is that Jokic, for all the offensive accolades, for all the offensive achievements, defensively he sucks. He's not a good defender. He's slow-footed. He looks great when he's defending other bigs, but the Warriors don't have other bigs for him to defend. He's going to have to defend somebody who is much more athletic, much more quicker. And someone posted these highlights of Jokic defending the Warriors in the 4 games that played in the regular season. I was looking at this going, oh my God, why did this not occur to anyone that the Warriors are just going to be able to blow by this guy? And that's where you're right. And Aaron Gordon and these types need to step up defensively. I'll say this. I predicted the Warriors to win this series in 5. I still think it's going to be in 5, simply because I do think Denver is going to have one of those games where an Aaron Gordon type, DeMarcus Cousins, who actually look good out there, I think players like that will probably light it up and give him a win somewhere in the series. But, dude, Jokic is not a good defender. And who's he going to stop? It's crazy.
I just look at Denver as they're gassed, man. This team's gassed.
That too.
I looked at and for the Warriors, I mean, the Warriors started 18-2, looked like one of the best teams in the NBA on Christmas. They had the best record in the league as late as January the 3rd. And then the last couple months, they went 10-16 in February and March. And maybe I got a little clouded by their February and their March, but man, the Nuggets don't play great defense, as you said. Then you look at what Poole has done with Steph out. Poole started going for 25 a game. He's continued that tonight. And it's funny, Jokic did dominate Golden State and had some monster games this year, but all of those games were without Draymond Green. So Green slows him down. And the Nuggets have really struggled to defend recently. I mean, I was looking at their recent numbers. They've been allowing 118 points per 100 possessions over the last 2 weeks. So 17th in effective field goal percentage on the defensive end, 28th at the rim. I mean, Golden State's a dominant home team. I think Denver's gonna win some games in Denver because that's a tough place to play. But
I think one. Yeah.
The other thing for Golden State is Denver has been a first quarter team all year this year. They get off to incredible hot starts, and
they did tonight. They did tonight too.
They did again tonight. I mean, but they were outscored with Jokic in the first quarter, though, in 9 of their last 15 games. So it's like the team that they really were earlier in the year. Because of the injuries, it's now April. They just look gassed. They don't look like a team that's going to get it revved up and beat Golden State. One game in, it just doesn't look like they're going to put up a lot of resistance in this series. I mean, maybe it's one game, and you don't want to overreact to one game.
Correct.
But to me, there's only 2 series in this first round that I thought were really interesting. Brooklyn, Boston, Warriors, Denver. Now, Minnesota beat Memphis, and a lot of people think Minnesota's got a chance to beat Memphis. But to me, those are the 2 most interesting series. Warriors and Nuggets in the West, Celtics and Nets in the East. And, we'll see. We'll see where it goes.
You still feel that way? Because I never thought this series was in doubt. I thought the Warriors had this from the beginning. Here's my thing to you, Larry. You're a sports historian among many things, right? And you're Barry born and bred. And look, this is why you have me, brother, because all I focus on is the Warriors. You got Niners, you got Giants, right. You even got to probably deal with the Sharks sometime. Who knows if the earthquakes are on your radar? Not to mention the national scene. My life is Warriors, dude. I study this team through and through.
My life is. I'm not sure if we can get him back.
I'm back.
Oh, there you go. Okay. There you go. You were frozen. You were just at the point where we said Warriors are my life, and then now we don't. We don't have your video. Now we can just hear you.
Okay. I don't know.
There we go. Now you're back. Now you're back.
Okay, good. Yeah, the Warriors are my life, man. I've loved this team since I was a kid. But as a historian, as someone, I mean, do you not see the Steph comparison to the Joe Montanas of the world in a different sport? Like, I don't know, man. I don't see Steph and Clay and Dre dropping off yet. I don't think they're they've pinnacled and they're now on the downslope of their career. I still think they're right at that peak and not looking down yet. They're still seeing championships. The experience that came with those 5 straight NBA Finals runs, that is so invaluable. The Nuggets have none of that. And I don't think this is an interesting series in all honesty. But I also want to say you're right, man. Let's not jump ahead. It is just one game. Mike Malone is a brilliant coach. You said that as well. I wholeheartedly agree with you, brother. Like, he is a great head coach in the NBA. And one thing I'm curious about is what adjustments is he going to make in game 2? Because they're not going to come into game 2 doing the exact same thing they were doing tonight. And I don't know what those changes are going to be. I don't know if it's going to be defensive adjustments. I don't know if he's going to have Jokic doing something different, but there's going to be adjustments.
It's interesting. I mean, the Warriors are a really good defensive team. So it's not, and the Nuggets have limited firepower after Jokic. So somebody's going to have to step up against a really good defensive team with some big offensive numbers. And that somebody's either going to have to be Will Barton or it's probably got to be Aaron Gordon.
I'll give you some names.
Somehow one of those two guys, I think, have to really step up and produce some points.
Well, sorry, I'll give you.
Young Ryan joins the mix here. Ryan Smith
popping in off the bench real quick.
Yeah.
So my thought on it was, because I think Malone's a great coach too, and just watching the game, it kind of looked like, they weren't sure what they were going to get from Steph. Let's kind of see if we can't just kind of straight up box man on man this game. See if we can't hang. I would be shocked if they didn't just majorly slow the pace and, start running the clock down, just keep it in Jokic's hand. Cause that's the formula to give us trouble, right? The Cavs, when it's just in LeBron's hand, we can't get into that flow because they're just, pounding the rock. Same thing with Houston. So I'd expect something like that.
I'll respond to that with good luck, buddy. Good luck. It's one thing to want that. It's another. Here's a funny thing, man. So the Warriors at no point in this game in the first quarter had Steph, Clay, and the pool party on the floor together, right? And they were down by 1. The Nuggets were keeping this thing close. And then midway through the second, I believe, then they had the three-headed monster. I'm calling them the Splash Trio. I don't know what nickname we can come up with them for now, but it's the Splash Trio. We're finally on the floor together. They went from being down 1 to up 11 in like a minute. And that was it. It was over after that. And the question you have to have, and I'm sure every head coach is having nightmares about this, thinking about the Warriors, is how are you going to stop that? Because realistically, you have the 3-headed monster of those 3 I just mentioned, right? The Splash Trio. You got Draymond Green, who was hitting threes tonight, and he does hit threes in the clutch. Like, he's always been known for that. Let's not forget Game 4 of the Western Conference Finals in 2019 when he hit that 3 to win it, to complete the sweep. And then you got the 5th guy this was an interesting thing that Kurt pulled. Otto Porter Jr. is someone that he actually liked with those 4. We saw him on the court more than Wiggins. And good. All I'll say is to Malone and to everyone else, good luck, because I don't know how you're slowing the pace down.
Yeah, the Warriors have a ton of firepower. The Warriors have a ton of firepower here. Even though their offensive numbers don't look great this year, how many? They won 53 games. Green missed a ton of time. Thompson missed half the year. They never got Wiseman back. They've missed Steph for big stretches. And still they found a way to be the 3rd best team in the league and win 53 games. And they did it mostly with defense. So if they can get their offense cooking, watch out, right? This was the first game, by the way, since 2019 that Curry, Green, Thompson, and Iguodala all on the floor together. We haven't seen that. But the Warriors have, as Cy pointed out on the Locked On Warrior podcast, that the Warriors are 16-0 in the playoffs. They've never lost a playoff series with a healthy, Curry, Thompson, and Green. So I guess you'd say they've got a healthy enough. They got a healthy-ish Curry right now. But first basketball game in over 1,000 days for the Warriors. And I think if you're a Warrior fan, you got to feel really, really good, because here's the thing. When Steph went out with the injury, Poole stepped up. But this is a whole nother level of NBA basketball. And there was some unknown. What would Jordan Poole do? Would he carry his playoff, end of the year performance, which was truly a bust out performance for him, where he showed he was one of the most improved players in the entire league. Was he going to carry that into the playoffs? And I think we got our answer tonight, guys.
We did not know. You're right.
We got that answer.
Dude, Jordan Poole finished the season in 18 of the last 19 games. He scored 20 or more points. The one game he did not, he scored 19, but added 11 assists. And that was the second to last game of the regular season, I believe. Dude, the Poole, you know what I saw there tonight, man? I saw the future where Jordan Poole could be your ace. And who knows what's going to happen with Kuminga. Moody in garbage time looked great. Bielitsa, that's a whole, we could get to that later because he showed up tonight. I mean, and he played marvelously. But, dude, the Poole party could be like the ace in the hole for this squad for the next 15 years. It's insane.
It's
How
funny you
excited
said
are
that.
we? My Lord.
Itchy 95 size says Jordan Poole can make this a championship team for sure if he can continue playing like this through the season. What I think he means is the second season. Well, I mean that's the question. What is the potential for Golden State? I mean, here, if you looked at the subplots around the league, what were they at? Well, when it came to the Warriors, what were they saying? They were saying, can the Warriors' big three, Draymond, Clay, and Steph, get one more ring together? Well, the Warriors chose to go a different route. I mean, Iguodala was kind of critical at saying that they should have gone with some veteran guys. Instead, they went with young guys. They kept Poole, they kept Wiseman, they kept Kuminga, they kept Moody. They have almost like two cores now. They got their older core, they got their younger core. And I understood business-wise why they did it, but ultimately the question was the young core going to be too young, before the old core gets old, right? I mean, can the young core, start to settle in and help them win playoff games before the old core starts to get past their due date? And this would be that year, right? And at least one game in, I think we got some good news, and we didn't see really Kuminga or Moody do anything. Ryan, you wanted to jump in. Go ahead. What's your thought?
I wanted to give a little spin zone to Warriors Nation after this win, because you know what, we've been giving a lot of crap to the front office. I feel like, especially the Wiseman thing and whatnot. Okay, this is a major spin zone, but Jordan Poole would not happen if we took LaMelo Ball. Like, this guy would not be who he is now if we took LaMelo Ball.
Correct.
And also, like, you look at the Kuminga pick, and it's like, okay, yeah, he didn't get much run today, but it's like, who did you want us to take? Davion Mitchell? Guess what? We basically have Davion Mitchell from Gary Payton. That's
I don't think anybody is anti Kuminga.
Yeah,
at this point, right? He's just beloved.
I don't think anyone ever was. Period. I mean, Kuminga was never. I mean, the whole reason why you bring up Davion Mitchell, and I think the reason why his name was so synonymous with the Warriors is because no one expected Kuminga to drop down to that 7th pick. It was a shocker. And from what there was
talk he was going to go number 1.
Yes,
months before the draft.
And he was touted as a top 5 pick, certainly. And what I heard, and I decided to do a lot of research into why Kuminga fell to 7. And the reasoning is because the scouting departments for a lot of teams, when they try to approach him and interview him and talk to him, we're getting the Uncle Dennis treatment. And when I say that, I'm referring to Kawhi Leonard and how he doesn't necessarily always have the most transparent attitude in terms of communicating with front offices and organizations. And they were getting kind of that feel from him. And even this season, I think that's a huge reason why sometimes Kerr pulls that quick leash on him and doesn't play him sometimes. It's because Kuminga can be stubborn. Like Looney even admitted to that in a press conference one time, that because Kuminga, I believe, is seated next to Looney and either Draymond or Iggy. I can't remember who the other person is. And Looney and who?
I think it's Iggy.
Yeah, and Looney said in a press conference that sometimes when they would give him advice early in the season, he would be stubborn about it and would not take the advice. And so I think that's apparently why he fell to 7, is that they felt he wasn't coachable, that he wasn't receptive to listening per se. But hey, man, it's something switched there too. I think he's starting to get some of that dose of humbleness, because from what Looney said in that interview, he's listening more now. Look, man, it's only one game, but I love this Warriors team. Ryan, are you a fan too, man? Do you like the Warriors?
Oh, I'm a massive fan. I don't know. I mean, are you like I think the Warriors are going to win the championship this year guy?
Yes, he is.
I mean, I'm I mean, it ultimately is going to come down to Steph, like, right? I mean, I think that's a good topic to maybe move on to. I would love to hear your guys' thoughts on how he looked tonight, because especially early, you could tell he was a little hesitant in his movement, and I don't know if that was a physical, mental sort of thing, but there was that moment I wrote it down with like 4 minutes left in the third, where it was like, he was driving, couldn't get anything. Great pass to Draymond. Wide open three, bricked it. Curry rebound. Curry right back out to Draymond. Draymond immediately whipped back to Curry. It was the first time he took a shot all night where I was like, that's going in 100%.
Rigged.
Here's my
chat,
guys, you have a lot of comments in here, but here's what I'll say about
Rigged says the middle guy, talking about Ryan, looks like the NSYNC dude.
I've heard Lance Bass before. That's what he's talking about.
Now we'll make
and I know which one he's referring to. I can't remember his name. Here's the metaphor I'll say about Steph today is, this goes for skiers and snowboarders out there. I don't know if you two are into snow sports much, but if you don't hit the mountain for a few years and then you go back up there, it takes about half a day to kind of get your groove back and get your feet under you before you start hitting the mountain and you're rolling like you used to. And Steph's missed a month, so I feel like the first half of the game leading into the third, there was rust there. It was him getting his timing back. He had some ugly shots. I mean, I'm sure you two noticed that as well. But then he got it. It clicked. And by the end of the game, he was starting to look like old Steph again. What did you two think about the starting lineup, by the way? Because I love that. The moment I saw Steph not in the starting lineup, I just went, Kerr, I bow to you, sir, because that was the move. I don't know what they do in game two.
I loved it. I loved it because, one, I'll put myself in the big box as I talk about. I loved it from the standpoint that, who's going to have a harder time getting their rhythm? Steph Curry, one of the, future Hall of Famer, or Jordan Poole in his first NBA playoff game. So I loved it. I thought it was perfect. Steph was more mentally able to handle that transition. Poole has been rolling, playing his best basketball, and just get him out there. Just get him out there and let Steph, handle the adjustment. Steph's ready to handle the adjustment. I was actually pretty encouraged, Rye. You asked about, Steph long term. I mean, think about it. They look like they could probably smash this Nuggets team without Steph. And the NBA, think about this gauntlet, guys. You've got, the rest of this series. Can you get by the Nuggets? Okay. If you can get by the Nuggets, even though Minnesota won today, I would say Memphis is in the second round. That's going to be a battle. Then you get by Memphis, you got Phoenix staring you down. You know what I'm saying? I mean, that's the gauntlet. I mean, they did themselves no favors. But the one thing with Denver is Denver's gassed, and Denver looks gassed, and they don't look at all like the Denver team I remember from a month ago. They look like they're not. 1, 2, 3.
You're right, man.
1, 2, 3 Cancun.
Sorry, Jokic was out there just doing cardio at the end. Like, what was that? Like,
I don't know.
Pretty gassed, and it's like, I guess maybe he's trying to see if he can't get a couple guys going before the next game. But
what'd you think?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, Lance Bass has a point there, but I'll say this. Sorry, man.
King Tone says no Giants game. We'll get to a little Giants. When we hit the chat, we'll start talking a little Giants as well after we say goodbye to Cy. But I don't know if Kylan's going to join us. We gave her the invite. I don't know if Kylan's going to make it into the Krueg show tonight.
I'll say this about Kylan. She's planning her wedding, I think, is like in a week. And I know her, she's usually super available. And even like it's there's a delay with getting responses back with text when normally that's not the case. I think she's slammed, dude. I guarantee if we ask her in 2 weeks, she'll be more available. But dude, the pool party, look, it's insane. It is insane that he came out because that was the biggest question mark. How is Jordan Poole going to respond to his first playoff game? And he led the team in scoring. He scored 30 points. He was 5 for 7 from 3. What I love about him is the maturity is showing. And he did a press conference 2 days ago. To me, the sign of a truly great player is humbleness, is not thinking you're better than other people, not thinking that because of your talents, you're entitled to special treatment. And he said as much. I mean, I'm paraphrasing what he's saying, but he came out and said, look, I'm no different than any other human being. I'm just a person. I'm lucky to play this game. And the moment I heard that, all I thought was, damn, dude, this guy fits right in with the ethos of this team, the strength in numbers, the team first attitude, not the individual first attitude. Dub Nation is so lucky to have this guy. And I don't know what's going to happen in game 2. Every game's going to be different. I don't know what the line is so far. Larry, I got to ask you this, man. Why did you think, and you and Kylan are both in agreement with this, and this is the one thing I will rib you a little bit for. Why did you think Andre Iguodala was not going to be a factor in this series?
I just think Iguodala's at the end of a long career, and I just think that he's, as far as a sequence here, a sequence there, I could see him helping out. But it's an awful long year. We haven't seen very much from him. He knows how to play the game. He's really, really a smart basketball player with a really high IQ. But I just think, I just wasn't banking on a whole lot from him because I didn't see a lot from him. But I think one thing that was key with Golden State is those final 6 games. They finished 5-1. They got into a little bit of a rhythm. It was right at the end of the year, and here we are in the playoffs, and you got a healthy Draymond, a healthy Clay, Steph probably slowly working his way back. And I'll tell you the other thing I thought was a key factor in this thing tonight. Denver was 3-1 against the Warriors in the regular season. They out-rebounded them on average in those 4 games by 7 rebounds a night. Golden State battled them on the glass tonight. I think Golden State might have won the rebounding battle. I didn't see the final numbers, but Golden State held their own on the glass. And if Denver's going to beat this Warrior team with hardly any firepower surrounding Jokic, they're going to have to be like +10, +12, something like that on the glass, +10, +12, something like that on the break. I thought the Warriors did a nice job on the glass, and they did a nice job on transition defense. And to me, those are the 2 areas where the Nuggets can even the playing field and win games. If they can get out and run, get easy buckets, because let's be honest, this thing settles into the half court. They don't have the offensive firepower right now to contend with Golden State, especially if Poole is going to continue his attack on the rim. So
you're right. And look, Larry, I'm going to add on to that. I don't think even if Jamal Murray and Michael Porter Jr. were playing, I still don't think they would have had a shot. It might go 6 games if they have those guys. This Warriors team is special. I mean, this is not a team that I don't know. I guess I'm getting a sense from a lot of people that they've dropped off from the 5-year run. I don't see that. I don't like the injury to Clay. I get that could give you pause and concern, but Clay's looking good. He didn't have a huge game tonight, but he finished the season on fire. For the first time in his career, he had 3 straight 30-point games. He's never done that. His last game of the season, he poured in 41. So Clay's is looking great. And in 29 minutes tonight, he put in 19. He averaged over 20 for the year. Steph, even though he had the foot injury, looked good tonight in limited minutes. I think he played 22. Gave you 16 points on a 3 for 6 from 3. So the shooting was there after a slow start. Draymond, this is an interesting one. Draymond dunked tonight for the first time in like 4 or 5 months. That was a sign to me that he is back, because even when he was coming back from the back injury, he wasn't dunking it. He was laying it up. And that still gave me a little pause. I was like, all right, if he feels really good, he's going to give you those monster hammer dunks. He was doing that tonight. So this is a Warriors team that, again, they won 3 titles in 5 years. I know they had Durant for some of that, but Jordan Poole, his offensive production comes damn close to matching Durant's offensively. Not the D or the height, but from scoring he does. And then Wiggins certainly is an equal counterpart to Harrison Barnes if we're talking about that 2015 team. And then you got all the depth. You got the Gary Payton II. You got Bielitsa, who's looking like what he was giving them in 2021. You got Otto Porter Jr., who was making huge shots and playing great defense, by the way, when Jokic was switched up on him, not making life easy. This is a deep team. Andre Iguodala was even looking good tonight.
So deep that Kuminga, who, at times was a significant player for the Warriors this year, Kuminga didn't get any run. Do you guys expect Kerr to mix it up and give Kuminga or Moody some run, or are they going to be just garbage time players?
I really think what we saw tonight is what we're going to get. It obviously depends on matchups, right? And by the way, I want to answer your rebounding question, because that is a great call. The Warriors, at times, they've been criticized for their size. They out-rebounded Denver tonight 40. Oh, shoot, I just had it here a moment ago. They had a total, here it is, 41-35. And to me, what stood out even more was they out-rebounded the Nuggets offensively. They had 10 offensive rebounds to 9 for Denver. You're right, man. I mean, they talk about the strings, right? It's all about team defense, about backing each other up, and that also extends to rebounding. Like Kerr and Bob Myers, their philosophy's been, we don't need to be a huge team if we're boxing out and if we're working together to make sure no one is getting to the rim for those loose balls. And tonight they were doing it, man. This is a clean look. And to answer your question, I don't think Kuminga or Moody's going to get really heavy minutes unless it's garbage time, or if it's another series like the Grizzlies. Like, I could see him maybe playing there a little more just because that's a bigger, more physical team and you might need him a little more. But I don't see it. I don't know. That's just me.
Rye, what'd you think? What'd you think? What is? I guess here's the question: what is Malone's counter for Game 2? or do you look at, like, I'm looking at the Nuggets right now, going, man, they're challenged offensively outside of Jokic. They look pretty gassed, and if they don't get out in transition and get easy buckets, I don't think they can score with Golden State. And if they don't rebound and really dominate on the glass, I don't see how Denver gets a win. I don't see how Denver wins this series, I should say. I do think they'll get a win in Denver. Rye, give me your thought.
All right, I'll play devil's advocate. So I'm looking at the box score, and this is kind of what we saw on the TV. You know, they were 11 for 35 from 3. And I remember at one point it was like, 5 out of 25 or something like that late in the third. And that was more true because, at the end it was whatever. They were both trading threes. But, I mean, that's when they get home, like the bench got the Monty Morrises of the world and the Bones Highlands and the Will Bartons, like they're going to start striping threes. Like there's going to be one game when Bones Highland takes over and scores 32. Like he played horrible tonight. Horrible.
He's a rookie too.
He's a rookie.
Yeah.
He's a good player, but you're right.
He is.
And then the
role players typically play better at home.
The free throw discrepancy too is a real thing. I mean, they got 29 free throws. The Nuggets got 13. You'll see games where Jokic has 13. So, but no, I mean, I think as long as they're humming like this and they've like this connective tissue, that's why they're not going to play Kuminga because, everyone is humming. I noticed at one point, like Jordan Poole was going in and it's like, man, earlier in the season, he would have just, kind of forced a shot or whatever. And like, you could see mentally in his brain, him like getting ready to, pull up. And then it's like, and then like, there's like a glitch and then he makes the great pass. And it's like, wow. He gets it. He's buying it. It's awesome.
I honestly thought the biggest headache for the Warriors tonight was not even Jokic, it was Cousins. Cousins was a headache. I had the volume down. We had some. It was a tremendous pickup for him. I mean, obviously the guy just burns bridges with almost every head coach he plays for, but Mike Malone so far loves him. But he was a handful. I mean, the Warriors were struggling. I missed what got him kicked out. I'm guessing he was just jawing to the ref. Scott Foster doing his legendary "you're out of here" like he's a baseball umpire. Here's what could be a weird thing we see in Game 2, and people are sleeping on Campazzo just because the little turd is not that great of a player. He's okay, but he's a pest. But in that one game, Larry, you talked about yesterday on Locked On Warriors, where this was 3 days after Christmas, and I personally thought that was a letdown game for the Warriors after they beat Phoenix in Phoenix, and they didn't have Klay Thompson, obviously. But Campazzo played 32 minutes in that game, and his playing minutes have dipped drastically as the season's gone along. Look, Malone's going to have to do everything. He's going to have to literally try everything, and Malone is a coach that is not afraid to do so. So we might see Campazzo out there being a pest. It wouldn't surprise me if you see Campazzo guarding Poole or Curry. And Cousins was looking good. I love the Bones Highland mention, Ryan, because he actually did look good out there. He just wasn't making all the shots. But dude, this Warriors team, I picked them back in August to win the championship. I'm extremely confident right now that they're going to hold that Larry O'Brien trophy. I really am. I just do not see any. Oh yeah, I called this back in August.
Let me ask you this, Cy, since you're going to only be here for a couple more minutes. Who is, in your mind, and maybe you just said it, who's the team to beat in these NBA playoffs? Is it the defending champion? Is it the Nets with their firepower? Is it Boston and their hot second half? Is it Phoenix and Chris Paul? Is it Golden State? Is it the upstart Grizzlies? Who is the team to beat in these NBA playoffs? And we're going to discuss it a little bit after you leave, but Give me your thoughts.
I can stick around for a few more minutes, but
okay, yeah.
Here's what I think. I think the NBA 10 years ago changed the entire cap system so that parity would be abound, right? And the Warriors found a way to circumvent that because they had Steph, Clay, and Dre on ridiculously affordable contracts. Steph because of the ankle injury, Clay because he really didn't make himself as an all-star right away. It took a little while for him to grow into this grandiose position where he should have been on the NBA 75 team. And Draymond didn't have a huge contract the first time around just because everyone saw him as someone who can't really score. And he was such a new anomaly type player, being this Swiss Army knife. So they were able to get Kevin Durant on this ridiculously with enough cap space to give him a borderline max deal. And that allowed them to have this 5-year insane run. Well, the NBA now is officially the parity that they were hoping for. You don't have any teams with a big three. You don't have any teams that really stick out. I know Phoenix obviously dominated the regular season, but the Warriors were never intimidated by them. They dominated them in Phoenix on that Christmas Day game without Clay. They played just recently again, barely lost to them. And that game, they didn't have Steph. So to me, the Warriors are in this really enviable position where they still have their big three from that dynasty. And it's not like their powers have diminished. Yeah, they've been banged up, but they're looking good right now. All we need left is Steph's foot to be 100%, and it looks damn close. They also have an incredible supporting cast. So, in my opinion, the only team that I worry about a little bit, even though they lost today, would be the Grizzlies, just because they're athletic, they're long, they're physical.
They rebound, they block shots.
They're a solid team. I know Phoenix on paper is the team everyone's picking, maybe rightfully so, but the Warriors have already shown they could handle them. And there was this great interaction 2 weeks ago from the last game, and I'm sure you two saw this, where Draymond Green and Jay Crowder were going at it, right? And Draymond said,
"Hey, you're not tough. You're from
Bucktown, I think. Bucktown, I think.
Buckhead,
which I don't.
Buckhead.
I'm sorry. Thank you.
You're from Buckhead,
which is like a suburb in Atlanta. Apparently, it's a.
Draymond just knows how to get at a guy, man.
He does, man. He does. He is the Rodman of the current NBA, not so much from a rebounding perspective, but in terms of a mental, like get in your head type player, he's the master at it. Like he clearly his Saginaw days taught him how to talk and taught him how to not let it affect him at the same time. So to me, the Warriors are just in a different level from everyone else. And they even played the Bucks earlier this year, about a month or so ago, and they cleaned them up. Like the Bucks didn't even know what to do with them. I thought the Bucks were the biggest threat. And now I don't. And the Celtics are intriguing just because defensively they're a very sound team, but I don't think Time Lord's coming back, man. It would shock me if he might come back, but he had a similar injury to Wiseman, who missed a whole year, and Jaren Jackson Jr., who missed almost a whole year. And people are saying he's going to come back like in 2 weeks or a week. That would shock me if it happened. And they're so inexperienced. So that's my pick, man. I think the Warriors are going to win this thing. I thought so back in August.
Hey, Chris Mullen says the Warriors are going to play into June. I will say this. The one area that made me think the Nuggets have a shot is Denver shot, guys, 30% from the arc in the matchup with Golden State, in the regular season 4 matchups this year. And yet they beat them 3 out of 4. So I thought, man, 30%, that's pathetic. If they shoot at all, if they drop the 3 ball at all in this series, they're going to be really tough to handle. But they don't have a lot of firepower from the arc, and they shot 30% again tonight. And that's one thing Golden State does. They shoot the 3, they defend the 3. And Denver's going to have to shoot closer to 35% if they even want a shot. They got to get out. They got to rebound better. They got to shoot the 3 better. They got to get easy buckets in transition. They need to be able to, run with Golden State. They really need all 3 of those factors to go in their favor tonight. None of the 3 went in their factor, but in their direction. But to me, what I saw, and my primary takeaway is Denver doesn't look like the Denver team that I saw early in the year. They don't look like they're fresh. They look like they're limping towards the finish line.
Because they are, Larry. You're right.
Yeah.
They lost 3 of 5 to end the season. And even Jokic was tiring down a little bit just because he has so much. He's carrying so much of the load. Like there's only so much you can do over a long year. Yeah, they sputtered. They started sputtering the last month. That's a great call. You're absolutely right. in all honesty, man, the only team that can slow the Warriors down is the Warriors. Like I could see, for example, the Warriors winning game 2. I think it's going to be a little closer than this, maybe not, but I could see them going into a game 3 or game 4 with the same lackadaisical approach that dooms them. That's the only thing that ever brings them down, is being bored and just losing that urgency, that carries them to success. And that's where I can see them losing a game of the series. The Nuggets are just not on their level, man. It's just like those regular season games, the one you went to put it in perspective, which you thought was like a blowout, and they did dominate that game. I'll totally give you that. I think the Nuggets won that game by 1. And then, I mean, that's how the Warriors still came back and made it a fight. And then the last 2 times they played the Warriors, even though they lost the 3rd game, they weren't playing Steph, Clay, Dre. Otto Porter Jr. was out for that game. And they still kept it really close. I mean, the head-to-head was just such a misrepresentation of these 2 teams. And I think it threw a lot of people off, man, because you're not the only one who thought this would be a more competitive series. But this Warriors team's legit, man. This is not that far off from the 2015 team especially. But the way Jordan Poole was playing, I mean, that 2015 team never had an offensive weapon like Jordan Poole either. Andrew Wiggins
takes a lot of pressure off of. It takes a lot of pressure off of Steph Curry. I mean, the Warriors never could have won without Steph Curry unless a guy like Poole had emerged. But Ryan, that's exactly what we've seen. Poole looks like he is entering the prime of his career. It's hard to believe, guys. This guy was sitting in the stands at the draft the year he came out of Michigan. It's also, think about last year. Jordan Poole played a number of games in the G League last year. He was in the G League. And this kid just worked on his game. First guy in the gym, last guy out. You talk to any Warrior representative, player, coach, scout, broadcaster, they'll all tell you the same damn thing. This guy's work ethic is second to none. He wants it. And I've heard people even talk about other hardworking guys on the team, and they'll say, oh, yeah, this guy works incredibly hard. I mean, not Jordan Poole hard, but really hard. So there's like a separation where he's like in his own category, where his work ethic is like sets the tempo for everybody else. And that's, if you're a great young talent and you want to know, how do I go from college to the pros? How do I develop my skills and establish myself in the NBA? Follow Jordan Poole. Work at it left and right, because this kid really has. Ryan, give me your quick thought on Poole, because he's the story tonight. He goes for 30 in his playoff debut. I thought there was going to be nerves. I really did. I thought, oh, you know what? He's gonna, they'll D up on him. He'll be a point of emphasis for Mike Malone on the whiteboard in the pregame, and they'll take him away. And the opposite happened tonight. He kind of had his will. He kind of basically did what he wanted to do out there.
Yeah, and how about it coming versus Denver too in the first round? A little flashback to Steph Curry's breakout in 2013 versus the Nuggets. You know what I mean? All of a sudden, it's on the net. Because people follow basketball or whatever, but the national crowd. Everyone, you got Kendrick Perkins tweeting about Jordan Poole, and that guy he's just always dogging the Warriors. And now, I mean, hey, that's the thing I'm a little bit worried about, and I don't want that to get to Jordan Poole's head or
what are you worried about? Overconfidence, you mean?
Yeah, that's because it just happens. We forget every year. It's the same thing with March Madness. It's like you see a team win by 20, and it's like, oh my God, they're unstoppable. Like, this team is so good, and there always is that swing. And I mean, look, the Nuggets' goal is to try and steal one, So, didn't happen today.
Yeah, I mean, they're just looking – they came here on a business trip looking to get one. Golden State had a hard time finishing this year. Let's see – before we award them a trip to the finals, let's see them go up 2-0 and hold serve, because let's be honest here. If the Nuggets come back, it's Monday night, game 2, I think 7 o'clock tip. If the Nuggets come back and get one, they're in control of this series, right?
For a moment. I don't expect it to happen.
I don't expect it to happen.
For a moment, Larry.
For
a moment.
But that's
what I'm going to push back strong. I'm going to
goes.
push back strongly to that. First of all, Ryan, I talked just a moment ago about Jordan Poole, about what he said in the press conference. This is a humble kid. He's not listening to goons like clutch stooges like Kendrick Perkins, who, by the way, it's asinine that he has a vote for MVP in these all NBA teams. I cannot believe that he was given that. The guy knows nothing about basketball except how to kiss LeBron's ass. and how to just basically
how to butcher Moses Moody's name on draft night.
Yes, with no substance that's legitimately coming out of his mouth. But Larry, I'll say this.
Cyrus, carry the hell on.
Perkins, man. But I will say this, and you're absolutely right about Jordan Poole's work ethic. It is second to none. But
you're getting heckled in the chat. Portola 45 says Cyrus already bought a new portable chair for the parade.
I'm not saying they won the championship yet. But what I'm sitting here saying is this is the equivalent of the 89 Niners when they had to face the Redskins in the divisional playoff game. You were not batting an eyelash. The records might have been close in the regular season. There's a difference between greatness and a playoff team. The Warriors are greatness in every measurable and every variable.
So, basically what you're saying to sum it up is that the ridiculous hot start, that team that we saw bolt from the gate at the beginning of the year, go 18-2 out of the gate, you're saying that's the real team. This team that went 10-16 in February and March, that's not the real team. The real team is the first half team. That's what you're saying.
I'm 100% saying that. I'm 95% saying that because the other 5% is this team is better than that team because Jordan Poole was nowhere near where he is now during that 18-2 start. They didn't have Klay Thompson, who's starting to look damn good now. And when they were 27-6 after they beat Phoenix in Phoenix on Christmas Day, and they had the best record in the NBA at that point, that's the team that's close to what we see now. Look, here's what I'll say. If they lose game 2, you never know. Could happen. I will guarantee you.
You'll walk to Denver?
If they lose game 2, they win games 3 and 4 in Denver. I guarantee it. The Warriors are just that much better. I will not carry this level of confidence and borderline arrogance, if that's how people are interpreting this, in the next round. I'm not going to be talking like this in the next round. But the Nuggets,
I love your confidence, dude. You're flying high. The Nuggets
are just they're just not, man. They're just not on the same level as the Warriors. It's ridiculous.
Before we've pounded this Warriors Nuggets thing to death. We are going to talk a little Giants Indians before we get out of here. Giants Guardians, excuse me. But let's talk about the rest of the NBA playoffs for a second.
Yeah.
So today, Utah beats Dallas in Dallas, 99-93. Mavs, of course, starting this series without Luka. Donovan Mitchell had 32 for the game. 30 of those came in the second half, and the Jazz go up 1-0. Minnesota beat Memphis in Memphis at the Forum, the FedEx Forum, 130-117. Big day for Anthony Edwards, who had 36 and 6. John Morant.
That helps the Warriors. That helps the Warriors, Larry. That helps the Warriors, man.
Memphis. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then here's the one that I like Philly. I like Philly based on what I saw tonight. Tyrese Maxey had 38. He had 21 in the third quarter alone. I like Philadelphia. Right now, I'd have to say Utah. I'm still going Memphis despite the fact they lost game 1. I like Philly. I like Miami over Atlanta. I like Brooklyn over Boston. We get game 1 tomorrow in Boston. That's going to be a hell of a game. Brooklyn's a 4-point dog on the road. I like Milwaukee to sweep up the Bulls, even though I think the Bulls are a good team. And Phoenix, of course, is going to sweep New Orleans. But Phoenix, Milwaukee, Brooklyn, Miami, Utah, Minnesota, Philly. And I guess I got to lean towards Golden State at this point after watching tonight. I mean, it's impossible. It's really impossible to pick Denver to win this series now based on just they're not going to become, they're not getting Murray back. And they're not playing.
Or Porter Jr. Or Porter. Same thing.
And they're just kind of, they played incredibly. They played the Warriors with tremendous confidence in the regular season, and they just don't look like they have anything left. They just don't. They just look like they're kind of playing out the strings. So we'll see Monday night. We'll see Monday night, but I expect the Warriors to win Monday night and go back to Denver up 2-0.
What do you guys think about the Nets Celtics? That to me is the most fascinating series of the opening round. I have no idea
who's going
to
win
win
that. I mean, Boston's hot, and yet, we all know the Nets have tremendous talent. What's Ben Simmons' situation physically? I mean, is he
dunked the ball today, and he asked Nick Friedel to get a video of it and post it, like a 6'10" man dunking a basketball is some impressive feat. I don't know.
Poor Nick Friedel. He was covering Steph and Clay and Draymond, and now he's covering KD who battles with 11-year-olds on Twitter, and flat Earth. You know what I mean? And then flat Earth and God help me if I get sent to the free throw line. I mean, it's like Nick Friedell's probably looking at he's probably staying at some Best Western in Brooklyn going, God, man, what happened to me, man? I was on the West Coast riding high. I was working on my tan. And now I got flat Earth and KD and no free throw with Ben Simmons. I mean, what?
My conspiracy theory, Larry, is this, that I hope I don't get anyone in trouble saying this, but my conspiracy theory is that Malika Andrews, who's suddenly become immensely powerful at ESPN, wanted to get her sister Kendra, who's a fantastic reporter, by the way, on the Warriors beat, and so they were like, Nick, we're gonna send you to Brooklyn because we want to.
She's got that kind of pull.
I think so, man. I think so.
All right. Hey, Cy, before you get out of here, and we do appreciate you hanging with us.
Yeah. Ryan, nice meeting you, man. I think I just missed you on the KNBR beat, like after I'd left there. I guess you were working there for a long time, but great to meet you, man.
I was just a measly intern for a summer.
That's right. You guys were both at the leader at one point or another.
Oh, wow.
But not at the same time. But give me your thought on the Red Hot Giants. The Giants have begun the season, Cy, beating 3 teams in 3 series. They go for the sweep tomorrow at Progressive Field against the Guardians. They won today behind Anthony DeSclafani. 4-2, I think, was the final. Give me your thought on the G-men as we talk a little. We're going to talk a little Giants for the next half hour or so.
All right, that's definitely my cue to balance. 107 wins last year, solid. Can I reveal to the public an insider thing? If I say something bad about the behind the scenes Giants scene, will that get either of you two in trouble, or should I keep my mouth shut?
I don't think we can stop you from saying it, so just go ahead.
All right, fair.
Whether it gets us in trouble or not, I mean, what difference does it make, right?
So do you want to know what the nickname is for Larry Bear that all the players call him?
Oh, I probably don't want to know this, but go ahead.
Screech. They all call him that, man.
From Saved by the Bell?
Yes. I will leave you folks with that.
All right.
Dude, it was such a pleasure. This was a pleasure, man. We're doing this after every playoff game, right?
Every playoff game, Monday night. You can be ready Monday night? Is that your playoff beard? Dude, listen to this. The audience doesn't realize this. Cyrus started growing his playoff beard at the opening tip tonight. And look at that growth. Dude, that is awesome.
I gave up on shaving so many years
That is
ago,
amazing. That is 4 quarters of growth right there. I mean, this man can grow a beard. Seriously, I saw him yesterday. He was clean shaven, like a baby's bottom. Today, full beard. I mean, that's
a Middle Eastern terrorist blood, dude. It's a Middle Eastern terrorist blood.
That thing grows incredibly fast. All right, Cy. Hey, good win. Hey, is it okay if we trimmed our bet from 50-75 to 20-20?
No.
25.
Nice
50?
try, dude. Nice try.
No.
I'll negotiate. Maybe we can spin it and do something more fun, like an on-air type thing. I'm going to revise it in that regard.
Seriously, I don't. Last thing I want to be dealing right now is throwing cash to Locked On Warrior podcaster. All right, brother. Hey, and tell people about your Locked On Warrior podcast, because obviously they're doing great things.
It's Monday. It's a daily hit. It's Locked On Warriors. Just all you got to do is search Locked On Warriors. If you just type that in, it shows up everywhere. You can follow the show's Twitter account at Locked On Dubs. You can follow me on Twitter at Dog Surf Roadshow. And like I said, man,
kicked ass, Monday. Huh? Our episode with Kylan and me, we got some nice feedback off that.
Great feedback. The chemistry was solid. It was good. It was a fun time, and anyone can see that. Exactly. It was just posted. Yes, the most recent episode, and we'll have you on again soon, I hope. But so you can watch the show there. I do a show sometimes with Rick Barry. Rick Barry was similar to you, by the way, and the Hall of Famer got a lot of flack because he went on 95.7 The Game today, the Warriors flagship station, and echoed similar sentiments you did, that he didn't have faith in this Warriors team in terms of being the Nuggets. And dude, you should have seen the reaction on social media, man. People were blasting him for that.
Really?
It was crazy. So, what's up? Yeah, he predicted the Nuggets. He got ripped, dude. It's kind of crazy, man. But and I do a podcast with him, Larry. You're welcome to come on that anytime too, man. That could be fun.
Cy, you're the man. We will talk to you on Monday night. Have a great night.
Sounds good. Love you guys. Ryan, nice to meet you, man. Really nice to meet you. Larry, love you, brother.
Love you too, brother. We'll talk to you Monday. Cyrus Saatsaz in the house. All right, before we switch gears, we'll continue talking Warriors. And if you want to get in on the chat, we're going to open up the chat line. Can we take some video calls? We can be able to do that. We might be able to do that as well. But first, let's thank our sponsors. Let's mention our sponsors at least, and then we can thank them. Our first sponsor is Telmetrics.co. So, Telmetrics, great company. If you're an orthopedic surgeon, an occupational therapist, a chiropractor, a physical therapist, Telmetrics is designed for you to use in your practice and will greatly benefit your patients. So, as Gary used to say, listen to me and listen to me good. Telmetrics uses computer vision and artificial intelligence and provides a platform for outpatient rehab therapy services, both in clinical and telehealth environments. So using Telmetrics can improve your patient's experience and much more. So for all your sports injury and physical rehabilitation specialists that are out there, be sure that you go to telmetrics.co. And we appreciate them for sponsoring the show, Casey Bateman and the good people at Telmetrics. Once again, Telmetrics.co. And our other sponsors, Dan Coach Emilio, securemoney.com is Danny's website, and he's a great guy. He's really a terrific guy. He's a Giants fan. He's a Warrior fan. He's feeling good about the win tonight, I'm sure, and a big Niner fan as well. And, these are uncertain times and for a lot of people, and with all that's going on in the world, today, you want to make sure that your money is safe for your retirement. And Dan's got over 25 years of experience. He was born and bred right here in Northern California. That's right. He's a Bay Area native, and he can help you get an immediate 10% premium bonus on your principal retirement account. So give him a call today at 925-628-9966, securemoney.com on the web. Make sure you're putting your money where it is secure. That's really the key. Once again, Dan Coach Emilio, retirement planning specialist at securemoney.com, 925-628-9966. And thanks to Dan and all the good people at securemoney.com for being a sponsor of the Krueg Show. All right. Well, Ryan, we've talked a little bit. We've been on for almost an hour now. We've talked a lot about the Warriors. We came on, the Giants game was an afternoon game. Then they finished right as the Warriors were starting. So we kind of made the executive call that instead of doing a Giants post game during the Warriors and then watching the Warrior game and kind of chasing that from behind and then doing a Warrior post game after the Warrior game, we would just do a combined post game. So we've already started talking about the Warriors, and a lot of people have kind of weighed in on the Warrior front, and people are still in the chat for sure.
We got Kylan.
Do we have Kylan? Oh, there she is. We add her to the stream.
Pop up.
We'll see if she's in the green room, but we'll get her thoughts on the win tonight for Golden State. She also thought Golden State would take down the Nuggets. Only I thought the Warriors would not win the game, and now we have Kylan with us. Kylan, how are you?
Hey, good. How are you? Just came here to gloat, Larry. Hope you're having a good Saturday night.
Came here to gloat. Well, say hi to Ryan Smith. Ryan, this is Kylan. Kylan, this is Ryan.
Nice to meet you, Kylan.
Nice.
Kylan, you just missed Cyrus. Just missed him. Seriously, we did.
That's actually my goal. I was like, I had enough of him yesterday. I was like, him to get out until I can go on and chat with just Larry, get him out of the mix. So
exactly. Good move. Way to move him out of there. So what'd you think? It was a great win for Golden State. I was saying before that, if Denver, they look really gassed to me. They just look like they're at the end of a long season. They don't look like the Denver team that I remember earlier this year. The Warriors did a nice job on the boards. Denver doesn't have a secondary scorer. Denver shoots about 30% from three. To me, Kylan, if Denver's going to have any shot here, they got to get easy buckets in transition. They've got to find either somebody outside of Jokic has got to provide some points, and they've got to dominate like plus 10, plus 12 on the glass. And the Warriors beat them in every category tonight, and not surprisingly got a convincing win.
Yeah, the Warriors were dominant. I mean, I'm sure you guys have talked about this at length already, but what a playoff debut for Jordan Poole. I just don't think the Nuggets have any answer for the Warriors' multitude of scoring threats. I mean, just when you look at Denver, I just feel like their offense is so one-dimensional. Like, they have to find ways to score when Jokic is out of the game. It's like, what do? They're completely outmatched when he is not on the floor. And I just think that the Warriors, top to bottom, I said it before, they're a better team. I think they're tonight. But, I just think that they didn't have an answer for the Warriors outside shooting. You just mentioned Nuggets, they're just not even close to touching what the Warriors have. I don't think they can defend the Warriors. I just think it was a great team win. I wasn't surprised personally. I still am going to go with Warriors in 5. I think the Nuggets could maybe steal one in Denver on the road, but they're going to have to pick it up. I like what you said. They got to make the easy buckets, and I just think they've got to find an answer when Jokic is off the floor, because to me, that's where they just get absolutely annihilated.
What'd you guys think of Jordan Poole? I mean, I got to say I'm a little bit surprised. I know that he lit it up without Steph, right? He had 25 a game. He was incredible in the second half of the year. But I kind of figured the pressure of the playoffs, the scrutiny that you get when you have gone for 25 a game for a month and the other team's got an advanced scouting report. I just thought Denver would do more things to kind of disrupt his rhythm. Instead, Kerr started him, brought Steph off the bench, which I thought was really a smart move, because the guy who's in rhythm right now is Poole, and do everything you can to keep him in rhythm from the opening tap. And sure enough, Kerr did that. And it was almost like a continuation of the regular season. I'm not even sure that Jordan Poole knows that this was a playoff game. But Kylan and Ryan, give me your thoughts on what you expected to see from Poole and what he delivered tonight. Whoever wants to go first. Ryan, why don't you go first?
You got it. I've been talking.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah. First of all, I love what you said. I think it was a continuation of the regular season. I was surprised. I was surprised by what we saw from Jordan Poole. I thought he came out from tip-off looking aggressive, but also looking cool as a cucumber, composed. And for a young player who's never been in this position, that was surprising to me. I expected to see some more jitters off the jump, maybe forcing a little bit, just seeing some of that pressure getting to him. And I just don't think that was the case at all. I mean, he just took over in the second quarter. Wow, what a stretch he went on. He had that 1-and-1 bucket with the Euro step that I was just like, who is this? He was playing so confident. He was playing aggressive. I just thought that he brought it, and he looked like a seasoned veteran to me out there on the floor. And I was expecting him maybe to have a little bit of a slow start, just because he has never been in this situation. Several of the Warriors players and Coach Steve Kerr said that he's been talking about this since his rookie year. What's it like in the playoffs? What are these situations? He's been asking about it. He's been so excited about it. But I think sometimes that anticipation can lead to, just a little bit of a disruption in someone's game, because you almost get in your own head when you're really, really looking forward to those big moments. And also there's that extra pressure as a factor. So I was surprised. I mean, he looked fantastic. Like you said, did anyone tell him this was a playoff game? Because been in such a great rhythm lately. And then also I really like the decision to start him. Poole and Klay Thompson, I think, have had a great rhythm. They've worked out this kind of nice chemistry, especially just these last few weeks without Steph Curry. It's been really great to see. And I almost feel like that was a silver lining and a benefit of Curry being out, was Jordan Poole and Klay Thompson really clicking and figuring out how to play together. Because Jordan Poole is one of the players, and I mentioned Andrew Wiggins yesterday, that I was a little bit worried about. When Klay comes back, he changes the flow of the offense. So we saw how aggressive Poole came out this year, and Steve Kerr really just gave him an added workload on offense. But then you get someone like Klay Thompson taking the ball out of his hands so much, being so aggressive. Klay's just throwing up dozens of shots a game. It's not easy to adjust to a player like that. But I think that was a big benefit of these last few weeks without Steph, that I think that Poole and Thompson look like they're really in sync. And starting them, I agree, smart move. We were talking yesterday, Larry, about our expected starting lineups. I did not call that. I don't think any of us called that, but I think that Steve Kerr deserves some credit for how he kind of worked with that lineup. What we saw from Steph Curry was exactly what I was expecting. He definitely looked a little bit slow and just a little bit out of rhythm. Of course, he hasn't played in a month. He's still trying to get a little bit more comfortable and confident on that foot. The good news is he didn't look like it was bothering him at all to me. No. But still, he looked a little bit maybe rusty, or just, some of those shots, especially early in the game, way off. He was hitting the front of the rim, and it was flying across the gym. It definitely looked like he had a slow start, which is what I expected, which is why I think, like you said, Larry, it was kind of smart to have him come in off the bench, because you wanted to jump out right at tip off, and they continued that momentum they had going at the end of the regular season.
Yeah. I mean, Curry, I think, could be, it takes a little. Curry's an all-star. Curry's a world-class player, so he can adjust to a different rhythm, where Poole is a young player who found a rhythm, and let's keep him in it. And I love that. Jack C is donating money here. He says, Larry makes me ROTWL, roll on the wall laughing. I'm going to take that as a compliment. I'm not sure if it's meant as a compliment. I'm taking it as a compliment anyway. And T1 is donating. He says Kuminga should have some of those Bielitsa minutes. What do you guys think? Ryan, why don't you jump in first? First of all, what adjustment does Malone make for game 2? And what do you think of T1 saying that Kuminga should get a little bit more run in game 2 Monday night?
Well, we kind of touched on it earlier, but I mean, the Warriors off. I mean, that was what Steve Kerr wants the offense to look like. That thing was humming. Everyone was, hitting their defensive assignments, and I think that's just the worry with Kuminga. I mean, that's it's so awesome watching him during the regular season. It's like, he looks like he's got so much talent. He's so athletic, and he's so unlike anything the Warriors have had, during this whole run. But, you can tell he doesn't quite know where to be. He doesn't quite know where to be on defense. He'll kind of screw up an assignment every once in a while. And, as long as Bielitsa is playing like he did tonight, in the flow of the offense, keeping it going, I think he's going to keep playing Bielitsa. However, I could see, maybe let's say it's game 1 on the road and, some of our role players aren't quite showing up in the same way they did at home. Maybe, Bielitsa's a little frazzled. Who knows? Maybe he gets in foul trouble, Boogie, Jokic, whatever. That's when I think, he'll give Kuminga a run, but he'll give him a short leash,
Is Cousins going to be suspended, do you think? Are we looking at a Cousins suspension? I don't know. I mean, I don't know if he's going to be suspended or not, but I did see him ejected. Does that mean he will be suspended? I don't know. But what do you think Monday night, Kylan, as far as Michael Malone? He's one of the NBA's best coaches. I don't know if there's a lot of adjustments to make when you got a tired team. You don't have Jamal Murray. It doesn't look like he's got the horses to compete. I mean, to ask Bones Highland, who's a rookie, who's
right,
who's playing a season that's like double as long as, or maybe more than double, almost triple as long as the normal one he played in college, to ask a rookie to do anything to impact the series, especially a guy who wasn't a lottery pick, it seems like a tall order. Is there an adjustment that you can see Malone making for game 2?
I think that's a tough question because as a coach, what adjustment do you make when you are just being outplayed top to bottom in every category, in every position? I mean, that's a tough thing. I would be curious to see if they bring out maybe some more of the hack-a-loony strategy that they brought out earlier this season that was so successful. I mean, I don't think the Warriors loved it after that game. I know some of them were like, oh, it's kind of cheap, but if it wins the game, we get it. Could they defer to something like that? I mean, I don't know, because I just think that the Warriors look top to bottom like a better team. So what strategy do you come out with to try to change that? I mean, I think they did a good job. Denver did a good job of disrupting Steph Curry, especially early. I know that's something Malone talked about was going to be a focal point for his team, and they prepared all week for Steph Curry to be back. I think that'll be another focal point for them moving forward. But again, with this Warriors offense, when they are humming like we're talking about, and they have so many different threats and options, I just don't see Denver having an answer for that. So Michael Malone's going to have to, dig deep into his, book of tricks to try to figure something out to stop them. Like I said, something maybe clever like the hack-a-loon. To me, the Warriors just look overall like a better team. I did want to mention something about the rotation, though. I would have loved to see more Kuminga tonight when the Warriors were up by double digits. Like, to me, this was a situation where, let's get this rookie some minutes in this situation, because I could see him being a key contributor later on. And Steve Kerr's talked about, just how deep this team is, and that he's really going to be deciding on the rotation on a game by game basis, because there could be situations where, and also, you never know what the Warriors injury status will be, where he may have to throw Kuminga into a game because he doesn't have a choice or because of matchups and he needs the size and athleticism. So to me, I wanted to see more of him in the second half when the Warriors had a little bit more of a commanding lead. I know it's a playoff game. You don't want to take any risks. Clearly, Kerr was deferring to his veterans and those players that he trusts to be in those situations. But I was kind of like, let's get Kuminga out there and let him run a little bit. Let's give him some minutes and give him some experience, because I think there are situations where he could be very, very helpful and a big contributor to this team. But, I do understand it's tough when it's a rookie to put them in that situation. However, I still think that he could be a factor in this rotation later on in a series, or hate to say it, but next series.
I agree with you, by the way, because I think this was a great opportunity for Kuminga to get a little run and just shake off some of the nerves, right?
Yes.
I'll tell you the other thing I thought was kind of a key element in this game, and I loved it, is that Draymond Green has this ferocious on-court persona, right? And he pushes so hard, and he's like, I mean, his greatest trait is his greatest weakness, right? I mean, it's like he has this unbelievable motor, this unbelievable ferociousness. He sets the tone. He is the tone-setting player on this team, but and he will not allow a team to play at a lesser level because he's just so charged up. But in the playoffs and in some of these regular season games this year, we saw him vault over that line, where it's too much. And he's so revved up that he's a distraction. He's a negative. He's getting teed up. He's getting ejected. And I thought he stayed very focused, like laser focused. He made high percentage play after high percentage play. He always makes the smart play, but he kept his emotions. He was revved up, but not overboard. He was incredibly intense, but not like, to the point where he's ready to snap. And to me, he's the engine for this team. He's the leading he's the distributor. He's the point guard. So he's got to be in the right, frame of mind as far as push, but know that line and don't cross it. And to me, I thought tonight was perfect. Play intense defense, play smart, make the smart play over and over and over again. But at no point did you see him lose control of his emotions. And with a guy like that, that's sometimes an issue for him. To me, when he can keep it dialed in and just leveled off, and you get this intensity, but within the framework of a game and it doesn't go beyond, that's where he's a better player than his stats, and his stats are tremendous. Either one of you guys want to weigh in?
Yeah, I mean, I think you look at the plus minus category. That's something I always look at for Draymond Green's impact on the game, because it's not necessarily always buckets that he's making. We know that. You see his impact on the game in the assists, the boards that he grabs. And then I just always think it's interesting. He led the team in plus minus tonight, like he often does. I think he was plus 21. And I think that does give somewhat of an indicator just of what, his impact is when he's out there and the leadership that he brings. However, I agree. I do have some concerns about him being a liability just because of, like you said, that passion, firepower. It does boil over at times. Like, he has to really keep it dialed in, and he has to keep those emotions in check and really focused in the right place. As you mentioned, we saw, especially late in the season, a couple ejections, stupid technicals that you don't want to get called for. And in the playoffs, you can't afford those couple buckets. However, what I will say is Draymond Green is an experienced veteran, and I think he knows when it matters to dial it in and tone it down. And he's been in these situations before. So, that's a great thing about this team. You can trust Draymond Green and so many of the other vets because they've been in these situations. I don't think he's going to do anything stupid. And I agree. He's the engine that makes this team go ultimately. And like I said, I think his impact is not always shown in the box score, but like I said, I like to look at the plus minus because so many nights he leads the team in plus minus, and that's got to count for something, right?
Oh, absolutely. What do you think, Ryan? I always felt like the plus minus, it means more over the course of the season than in an individual game, but sometimes in an individual game, it's the most revealing stat. So it's not like, oh, well, it's an individual game, throw it out. No, some individual games, it means everything. Then there's other times where there's some guy who just happened to, be on the floor with Steph or whatever, and they have an incredible plus minus in a game. But I always love to look at that stat over the course of a year, because the guys who are the best plus minus guys, those guys usually are the guys with the best basketball IQ. They make winning plays. They're good on both ends of the floor. I mean, I in some ways, I think that plus minus stat is maybe the most revealing of your true value as a player. Ryan, weigh in. Give me your thought on it.
Yeah, no, I totally agree about plus minus. By the way, another example of that is remember the Toronto Warriors final? Obviously, Kawhi was great, But for me, just like as a Warriors fan watching, the guy I was the most scared of, just the guy who was, and so they just always went on a run whenever he was on the floor, was Fred VanVleet. And I'm pretty sure he led plus minus by a zillion in that series, like over Kawhi. But yeah, Dre, I mean, we were talking about the pool, the kind of a little worried about the pool, Clay, Steph fit. I was a little worried about it when Clay first came back, and obviously Clay was just trying to find his rhythm. It was understandable, but it also happened to coincide when Draymond was out. And so it was like Steph kind of was taking a little bit more of a point guard role, and everyone seemed like a little out of it. Like it wasn't quite, you need Draymond's our de facto point guard. He's kind of like running the symphony and, keeping the ball moving, making sure everybody gets their shots, in the right spots. And yeah, I mean, I think, seeing it all together, this is what we all, I mean, I know Larry was picking Denver. For me, I obviously thought the Warriors were going to win this, but a part of me is like, no, I don't want to let myself get hurt because like I want to see it first. Because we have a little bit of that like Patriots Boston mindset where it's like, I mean, we had 5 years where it was just doesn't matter. We're going to the finals. Like that's just how it is. This system is perfect. Like whatever, we're all Church of Steph Curry and Steve Kerr and. Yeah, so I mean, seeing it and Draymond, and the only thing I'm worried about with Draymond is you talk about Michael Malone and some of the adjustments he might make. I'm telling Boogie, I'm telling Jokic, like try and get Dre and Looney in foul trouble early. Get too quick on them, because that's the kind of thing that's going to set Draymond off. And also, I mean, we just don't have the big depth. Like, Looney and Draymond were awesome tonight. Bjelica was awesome. But that's when you're going to end up getting the Kuminga minutes on the road. And it's, Draymond's got 2 fouls and Looney. And so.
That's a great point, actually, because, let's be honest. In the regular season, Golden State went 1-3 against Denver. Probably the number one reason they went 1-3 is that Green didn't play in any of those games. Yep. And if they could, I think Ryan hits on something there, Kyle. And if somehow Denver gets, I mean, not that that's their plan, but if by chance Green picks up a couple quick fouls in the first quarter, game 2 could look quite a bit different than what we saw tonight.
Yeah, I totally agree. Actually, I also think that's a great point. However, like I said, I just feel like Draymond Green has been in these situations before. Will he be dumb enough to get a couple quick fouls and put himself into foul trouble? I don't know. He's such a smart defender. I mean, that's like really the end of the floor that he dominates. So I would like to think that wouldn't happen, but I also agree if it does, that would change the game completely because I think he is maybe the biggest key to this series just because of what he does on both ends of the floor and how he keeps this team running. I mean, he's the floor general, not just on offense, but on defense too, making sure guys are in their spots, they're quick on their rotations, he's just directing everyone. Like you said, he's the director of the symphony. And I just think, I think he's the biggest key to this series and the Warriors need him in the game. They need him healthy. They need him out of foul trouble. Or it could be a totally different game.
Before we switch gears and we'll let Kylan get on with her night, we'll talk a little Giants after you're gone, unless you want to weigh in on the Giants. But I want your thoughts on some of these other series because today I thought was a really interesting day in the NBA playoffs. Utah beat Dallas. Dallas doesn't have Luka right now. Minnesota, though, knocked off Memphis. And wasn't that a shocker? 131-17. Huge game for Anthony Edwards. And then Tyrese Maxey went off. And Philly knocked off Toronto. And, on paper, I kind of like Toronto. But, man, if I was not banking on Maxey being this terrific player in the playoffs. I figured, well, young player, first time around, he probably will be lesser than what we saw in the regular season. But if he can elevate in the playoffs, I don't know, Kylan. I don't know, Ryan. I mean, I kind of like Philly. I kind of like Philly over Toronto. Did you see anything today or that makes you change any of your thoughts about any of these first round series? Either one of you.
For me, the biggest surprise of the day was the T-Wolves over the Memphis Grizzlies. So for me, I thought the Grizzlies were going to handily win this series. And the fact that they lost game 1 on the road was a shock to me. That's the biggest thing that's making me question my pick in that series. I only watched the second half, but I was like, what is happening? I I don't know. I think the Grizzlies respond. I still am going to pick them to win, but I'm questioning. I do also like Philly in that series as well. I just want to mention Tyrese Maxey. I covered him at Kentucky. That's where I actually moved here from. I used to work covering Kentucky basketball. Fantastic person, fantastic player. I always thought he had a high ceiling in the NBA, and I think that people are finally starting to see it. I think he has a long career ahead of him. Super bouncy, super athletic. Just talented on both ends of the floor. I like him a lot, and I'm glad to see that he's doing well on the big stage because I think he has a lot of potential.
Yeah. This is a great comment right here, and I haven't checked this, but I'll take him at his stats here. Aguri called ED said the Warriors 19-16 without Draymond, 34-13 with him. How revealing is that? I mean, Green is frustrating at times because he will sometimes have a bunch of turnovers, forcing bad passes into the lane. He directs traffic, and he'll put the ball in a regular season game where it's supposed to be. And if you're not there, it's almost like that's his message to you. You need to be there. And he'll lead guys, and sometimes it will be a flurry of turnovers. But he is so incredibly valuable. I personally believe, and I don't know if you guys share this belief, but I personally believe that Golden State would win 0 titles without Draymond Green. I think he's that important. Not that Steph and Clay are not incredible players in their own right, but this is the guy. This is the guy who's their emotional leader. He's their toughness. He's their rim protection. I mean, how many guys can you think of who are a team's key rim protector and key distributor on the same player? So, I mean, I think the value of Draymond Green cannot be overstated. It's funny. I think he's a for sure Hall of Fame player. But, he may feel like he needs that one more ring to get there. And there are people that will argue that he does. Where are you guys on Green's value to this team? And where are you guys on his Hall of Fame candidacy in the present right now? Is he, in your mind, is he a Hall of Famer? Either one of you can go first.
100%. Oh yeah, 100%.
Hall of Famer right now?
Yeah, I mean, it's not saying much just because the NBA Hall of Fame's gotten a little watered down over the years.
It's a little easier to get in than Canton or than Cooperstown, that's for sure.
I mean, he's the only guy in the league now that's like so, stat obsessed. And it's just like he's got the ball in his hands, and he'll average like a 9, 6, and 7 or something. And like he's the only guy who could average that, and people are like, yeah, I think he's a third or second team all NBA. Like, you know what I mean? He had a couple of years like that where he was on one of the all NBA teams. Thing I love about Draymond, he's just everybody. It's kind of like Deebo Samuel. It's like everybody, you realize how unique he is because all of a sudden for the next like 7 years, like how many guys get mocked or comped to like, oh, he could be like a Draymond Green type, like even Zion Williamson. And it's like nobody can do what he does because nobody. I mean, he's like 6'5", but he's got the same standing reach as like Anthony Davis. Like it's insane. Like how many times like when we were watching those old Warriors Clippers battles, like he would just board. Blake Griffin couldn't get boards over Draymond. It's like Draymond's little 6'5" guy, and so he's running the floor. He's just seriously one of the most unique players in NBA history, and everybody that was here to watch it is gonna know. He's a Hall of Fame type guy, and he honestly. I wouldn't have been mad if they put him on the top 75 list because you see guys like Robert Parrish and, got members of that big three for the Celtics. And it's like, I don't know, the Warriors big three is probably as accomplished as them. You know what I mean? And, Clay and Dre both didn't get in. So, yeah.
What do you think, Kylan? Where are you with Draymond? I mean, I've had people accuse me of being over the top in his corner and that he's not nearly as valuable. But then I watched him win. He went to the Final Four at Michigan State, and you covered college basketball.
Yep.
The Michigan State that he went to the Final Four with was not the Flintstones with Mateen Cleaves and Mo Pete. He went to a Final Four with a far lesser Michigan State crew, and I don't know if that people remember that. They think of all those great Michigan State teams, and then Draymond, but he led a team that was not a vintage Michigan State team to the Final Four, showing that he was a winner way back when, before he ever wore Warrior uni.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I think that Draymond is hands down a Hall of Famer. I mean, you look at the resume and the accomplishments, Defensive Player of the Year, the 6-time All-Star, the championships, but this team does not win those championships without Draymond. Like the big three has to be three, and I firmly believe that. Steph Curry and Klay Thompson alone, without Draymond Green, wouldn't have won it. And I know you got to throw KD in there too, yeah. But still, I think that Draymond Green brings the things that those players do not, that the Warriors need. Like they need that de facto point guard. They need the guy who's organizing on defense. They need the intangibles that he brings as far as the energy, and the floor direction. And he also brings just the defensive prowess. Let's see what reminds me of Dennis Rodman. Okay, interesting. Well, yeah, besides the off the field stuff, I mean, we hope he's not engaging in all of that. But
Randy says Magic Johnson. He thinks he's Magic Johnson with better defense. I mean, obviously the same school, but Magic was awesome with the ball in his hands. He's not Magic, but so what? I mean, there's no slam on you that you're not Magic.
No, my question for you guys is, and this is something that I just think that really to me makes Draymond such a unique player. Is there a player in basketball right now who has a higher basketball IQ than Draymond? I think that it's even been more revealing to me as he's taken on this role as a TNT broadcaster, and you hear some of his insights on the game, and also just like listening to Podium on a day in, day out basis, that like the way he sees the game, and that actually is kind of Rodman-esque, is if you watch The Last Dance and Rodman's explaining how to get to all the spots to get the rebounds, and you're like, this is a science. Like, this isn't just like guys that are going out there and just kind of like intuitive, like they just have this next level IQ. Is there a player, do you think, that has a higher basketball IQ right now than Draymond Green?
It's a great question, because it's not only is it a high basketball IQ, but he also, Kylan, has this unbelievable will. Like you can feel his will coming through the TV set. Like you can see it. It's really crazy. I guess the guy that I would maybe compare is Kyle Lowry, who's, another guy, second round pick, undersized, always discounted. It's somebody usually who you got to have that chip. Like he's, Draymond's got a huge chip on his shoulder, and so does Lowry. And to me, it's a combination of smarts, competitiveness, that chip on your shoulder that everybody kind of quit on you and denied, gave you no chance, didn't believe in you. There's probably a few guys who were second round picks around the league that maybe could fall into that category, but that's tough. There aren't a lot, that's for sure. Lowry is the guy that comes to mind. Is there one that comes to mind for you guys?
I agree, though. It's the combination. I think it's the combination of the basketball IQ plus the will and competitiveness to win. Right.
Yeah. I mean, when I think about it, I mean, of course, you got your LeBrons, because it's the guys that control the pace of the game, and that's Chris Paul, LeBron, Draymond.
Chris Paul's a good one. Yeah,
Chris Paul. I mean, when you were saying that thing about the will, the crazy thing about Draymond is it's like, all right, yeah, okay, we're talking NFL game, and some guy has just some crazy will and motor. It's like, yeah, he can maybe, beat a tackle like as an edge rusher. It's all strength and athleticism, like, getting fired up. Somehow he gets fired up and like wills in threes in the playoffs.
I know. It's amazing. He elevates. His whole game elevates. Yeah.
Like that game 7. I feel so bad for him because of obviously the suspension, but that game 7 in 2016, obviously that's a sore subject for all of us. But I mean, I think he had some insane line. Like
it was like 32 and 4. It was like 32, 14 and 7 or some.
And like
something crazy. Yeah.
From 3 or something, when everyone, including LeBron and Kyrie, nobody was scoring, and Draymond was out there just flame throwing.
He's a great player.
Jokic. Ichi's saying Jokic, comparing him to Jokic. See, I don't see Jokic on the defensive end of the floor having the same level of IQ at all. Fantastic player offensively, and he's great at distributing and passing the ball, but like he just doesn't. It's totally different players.
I mean, those heliocentric is like the new word, like players like Luka and Jokic and LeBron. I mean, LeBron's like kind of the OG, but it's like, all right, people just want heap adulation on them for, oh my God, you see that oh my God, look at all those assists and all that. They have the ball the entire game. Like, yeah, they have really good basketball IQs, but like watching this Warriors team for so many years, it's like, that's not how you win ultimately in the playoffs. I don't care how many points, and it's easier to accumulate stats like that. And yes, they are great passers, but I wouldn't put that down as IQ. I don't think Luka Doncic has a better basketball IQ than.
It's so interesting because it's like you might find some guys who can distribute the basketball like Green, and you might find some guys who are undersized who will battle like crazy and be great position defenders like Green, but you rarely see the combo. Right. I mean, you never see anybody who's like a point guard, but also is a rim protector. So the versatility of his game is so unique. I'm trying to think, not even just today in the NBA. I'm just trying to think of my entire lifetime of watching basketball. I cannot think of, Larry Bird. If you said is there anybody that, Draymond Green reminds you of? In some ways, Larry Bird. Now, Larry Bird was a different player. Larry Bird could shoot the ball way better than Draymond. But as far as his will, similar. His trash talking, similar. His rebounding, especially in big moments, similar. His ability to distribute the basketball and become, the kind of player that makes the guys around him always better, very similar. So he would be the closest I can think of, a power forward who, is kind of not really a power forward, but not really a point guard, but not really, it's Larry Bird. But Bird shot the ball better and would always hit the dagger threes. But Green is a longer defender and a better post defender and a better perimeter defender. So they're different, but that's the guy that I think of, and Larry Bird, and you hated, if you were rooting for Larry Bird, I'm sure you loved him. If you rooted against him, you hated him. And I think the same thing you can say the same thing about Draymond. Somebody right here says a passing version of Ron Artest, Meta World Peace. What do you guys think of that? This is not bad. A smaller, less athletic, better passing Scottie Pippen. Scottie Pippen was a dominating defender with incredible length and was a better offensive player than Draymond.
That's
insane.
I never saw Chaz Barkley play. Well, I just, in terms of similar, it seems like they have a similar build. He also he could run the break and board with big men, but
Barkley was a better offensive player.
A lot of these Pippen, to me, just are in a different category offensively than Draymond Green, but you mentioned versatility to me of his skill set that makes him such a unique player.
Yeah. And then the Showtime Lakers had a great shutdown defender in Michael Cooper, but he didn't have point guard skills and he didn't have passing ability. You know what I mean? It's like you just don't see that. You just don't see that combination of skills very often. And Green does it. So, and then the fact that he's now at a point where he's a leader, he's a veteran. He looks like, this thing looks, a month ago in the Warriors lose 4 out of 5 on the road trip, and it looked really bad. And Steph's limping home, and Clay's inconsistent, and Draymond's still got the disc issue. And we just found out that Wiseman wasn't coming back. And suddenly it was like, you know what? Maybe this isn't doable. Maybe what we saw on Christmas is as close as they're going to get to this thing. Well, they finished 5-1 down the stretch, and now very much looks like they're going to be able to get by Denver while Steph heals. And then you've got Draymond looking spry. You got Clay playing well, and you've got Poole carrying that unbelievable momentum that he gained from all those minutes on the floor without Steph in the second half of the year. And suddenly they look incredibly deep. Think about this team. They started Draymond, Wiggins, Looney, Clay, and Poole. They brought Bjelica, Iguodala, Otto, Steph, and Peyton off the bench. That means the guys that didn't play, they played in garbage time, but Kuminga, JTA, Damian Lee, Moody, Weatherspoon. That's some pretty good DNPs right there. Think of pretty good players right there who didn't play a minute.
Think about last year in those playing games, and it was like, if you were to tell me that JTA couldn't play in a game, I would have been like, oh, this team's toast. Like he's such a vital part of this team.
On this team, he can't even get on the floor.
Yeah.
No, I agree. It's crazy how deep the Warriors rotation is this season. I know they were talking about it early in the broadcast, and it's like, the first quarter, like we already saw 10 guys in the game.
Right.
And, and there's still do not plays that you're like, how did they not play? Or playing, that he threw in garbage time. That it's just kind of wild how deep this team is. And I think that that's going to end up being key through the playoffs. It's a long season. You mentioned Denver looks tired. Denver looks exhausted. Like the Warriors have had a luxury of being able to rest some of their key players down the stretch of the season because of their depth.
No question. The depth is incredible. Kylan, we'll let you get on with your night because since it is a Saturday night, I'm sure you got things going on. But it was great. It was great to get your opinion on the post game. And if you're welcome to join us, Cy will be back Monday night after game 2. You're welcome to join us. We'll send you a link if you'd like to pop into the Krueg show and give us your thoughts because we'd love to hear your perspective. It seems like it could be a really I was thinking as from the show we did yesterday, I was thinking this was going to be a relatively short playoff run. Chris Mullin was adamant that this Warrior team, despite the struggles in the second half, were going to be playing into June. And he made that point on television time and time again. I should have listened to Mully. I should have listened to you and Cyrus yesterday, but it looks like we may have a real fun and maybe an extended Warrior playoff run, which is really cool. And you think about what the Bay Area is going to be in the next few weeks with the NFL draft, the Giants off to a hot start, the A's off to a hot start, the Warriors, maybe getting deep into the playoffs. It could be a really fun month. So Monday night we will reconvene for a little post game. And if you want to come back, we'd love to have you back. So thanks for coming on tonight and spending some time with us.
So nice meeting you, by the way.
Yeah, you too. Thanks so much for having me again, Larry. And it was great to chop it up yesterday. I do have one more question for you. So what's the status? Are you going to be making any more bets on game 2? Are you like, where are you going with that? Are you?
Wait, sorry. I got to jump in because Cyrus, as he was about to leave, was like, he threw out a bet that I didn't want to make you double down, but he was like, all right, how about this? If the Warriors lose game 2, I guarantee you they win 3 and 4 in Denver. And it's like, okay, well, they'll probably not lose game 2, but if they happen to lose game 2,
I'll take Denver, that bet.
That's kind of a good, kind of a no lose bet for you.
Maybe that's what we'll do. We'll lure Cyrus into a double or nothing on Monday night. And I'll lure him in. He won't even see me coming. I'll lure him in. And before he knows it, he'll make a secondary bet, which will ultimately cover my first loss because there's no chance Denver's winning this series. To me, the overarching theme, and I said it off the start of the show, Kylan, was that Denver looks gassed. Beyond all the matchups, beyond all the breakdown, they just look tired. And Golden State's pretty loaded, as we just kind of outlined, and they're pretty deep. And we saw they got 5 or 6 good players who didn't get any minutes at all tonight. Imagine if Kuminga and Moody were on this Nuggets team. They would have gotten some significant minutes tonight. Yeah. So Denver's thin, and they're limping towards the finish line, and they're about to put the hand in the middle going, 1, 2, 3 Cancun. And the Warriors look like they're tuning it up for like they're on a collision course for Phoenix, and who knows? I'll tell you this too. The surprise for me was Minnesota knocking off Memphis. And how great would that be if Golden State could not only beat Denver, maybe beat them quickly. And if Minnesota knocks off Memphis, now be careful what you wish for. Minnesota's got talent and they can score, but I'll take Warriors Minnesota in round 2 and feel very lucky.
Absolutely. I'll send you guys off with this. I do kind of want the series to go to game 5 because game 5 would be at Chase Center on April 27th, the same day that the Bay Bridge series will be played at Oracle Park. And since Chase Center opened, basically during the pandemic, we have not really seen that overlap yet. So imagine how wild San Francisco will be with game 5 Warriors Nuggets, as well as the Bay Bridge series going on down the street. That's going to be so much fun.
That is going to be cool.
Live the dream right now.
Oh my goodness. It's suddenly we're emerging from this pandemic with the sports exploding in the Bay Area. And you get the feeling that we're going to have a very enjoyable spring and summer. Kylan, thanks for stopping by and please come back Monday night. And if you can't, no problem, but we'd love to see you Monday night. So have a great night.
Will do. Thanks, Larry. Nice to meet you, Ryan. We'll catch up with you guys next week, it sounds like. We'll do
Sounds
it.
good. Talk to you soon. Take care. All right. That was fun.
That's a lot of Warriors ball.
Seriously, that was a lot of Warrior talk. And you know what? I loved it because in these playoff games, I was trying to explain this to somebody the other day. Our buddy Len was asking me. He's like, the Warriors, and I just don't know if there's any momentum. And I'm like, no, you don't get it. Regular season NBA just doesn't move the needle. Is there anything more meaningless in the grand scheme of sports than a regular season NBA game?
Especially like the last couple of weeks of the season when
it means less than nothing. It means absolutely nothing. It's not, not as a whole, but individually, the games mean absolutely next to nothing. Where in the NFL, every game means a lot. In baseball, believe it or not, I think every game there's a greater intensity in the regular season, partially because in the NBA, 53% of all the teams in the league make the playoffs. You got to be really, really bad in the NBA not to make the playoffs. 16 teams do make the playoffs. So
wait, do 16 this year in baseball? Or how many with that new
what is it this year? No, I think it's 14. 14.
Okay.
So last year was it 12? And I think they added 2 more playoff teams as an extra wild card team. So yeah, 12 of 30. Now it's 14 of 30. So it's still under 50% in baseball, where in the NBA it's closer to 55% of the teams make it. So
a couple people are jumping in asking for a little Giants talk. I'm down to talk a little. I watched.
Yeah, let's talk a little Giants. Let's get into it right now. So, and if anybody who, if you're hitting the chat, you want to throw Warrior comments in there, no sweat. We can do that as well. But let's talk a little bit about the Giants now, because the Giants are hot. Let's go back to this game in Cleveland. They're at Progressive Field earlier today. 4:00 start or 3:00 start, and it was DeSclafani against Paul Quantrill. Let me first get my bitching out of the way. Where in the hell is Elliot Ramos? Why do they not play Elliot Ramos? They called this kid up, and he just sits. And it's like, is he there as a right-handed hitter against only left-handed pitching? I've never heard of that. Now, I've heard of right-handed hitters who left-handed hitters that, sit against some lefties, but I've never heard right-handed hitters who sit against righties. 3/4 of the people on the planet are right-handed. If the guy's just here to bat against left-handed pitching, how is he going to maintain any kind of a rhythm? I hate to see a 22-year-old player, start his career on the bench, especially because you got Yaz and you got Duggar, and find a place. You got a DH spot. It's a long year and they'll figure it out, but come on, Kapler, put Ramos in the lineup. But if you watch this game today, it was DeSclafani and Quantrill, and the Guardians. It's such a hard thing for me to say, the Guardians.
Hard.
But the Guardians got off to the lead. They got a guy named Miles Straw who tripled in the second inning, and then Jose Ramirez hit a sac fly that scored him. So they jumped on top, had a 1-0 lead against the Giants, and the Giants bats, as I said, at times this year, they look like they're going to struggle offensively, and they didn't score early in this game. I believe the first hit the Giants got,
seriously,
was Tyro Estrada with 1 out in the 5th. Right there, when you're not getting your first hit until the 5th, that's not good. But then Steven Duggar doubles off the left field wall, and so you have second and third with 1 out. Bart then struck out, so then you get second and third, 2 out in a 1-0 game. Yaz draws the walk, so now you got bags loaded with 2 outs. Cleveland, Francona pulled Quantrill for Logan Allen. He went to the lefty against Belt. And now here's a situation where, Brandon Belt is a younger player against a left-handed pitcher is like pure fodder, but he's improved, and man, he battled. And in this particular at bat in the 5th inning, he battled Logan Allen, and he singled to center field, and that scored Estrada. It scored Duggar. It gave the Giants a 2-1 lead. And, you got to love Belt, Ryan, because the guy knows the zone.
He knows the
and
zone.
he does
knows
not.
the
Yeah,
zone.
he doesn't leave the zone, and he got it. He got up 2-0, and that was the key to that at bat. He took the first couple pitches, got ahead in the count, forced the pitcher to come in, and stayed middle, had a kind of middle of the field game plan, fought off a nice pitch, and popped it into center field, 2-run hit, and suddenly it's a 2-1 game. It's great to see.
Yeah, great to see. And when this game started, I did not really. I was thinking about the Warriors game a little bit, and I was like, all right. Well, at least we got Warriors. Like DeSclafani, he's looked a little shaky this first 2 games, but I mean, he got it together. Man, I mean, I got it. I mean, this is skipping ahead, obviously. I feel like maybe the big takeaway from this game is, Mickey's save. That was sweaty.
And we'll get to that. Rebel 444 says McGee got the save, but he was shaky again. He says, I just like Doval so much more. Do you think Doval will be asked to save back-to-back games ever this season or not? You know what? I think it's pretty clear that Kapler is just going to play the hot hand, whether it's Alvarez, whether it's Doval, Brebbia, McGee. I think ultimately he would like to use McGee and Doval much of the time, but Doval falls in love with the slider, goes away from the fastball. McGee only has a fastball and a slider that's pretty. It's pretty much just a don't pay attention that I'm only throwing a fastball and we mix in a slider. I think the percentage is like less than 5% of the time. So McGee's fastball. So I would say that the key with McGee is spot him, spot him a little bit more. Use him the way LA used him a couple years ago. That was when he was really most effective. The Giants may use him a little too much, but so the Giants basically take that 2-1 lead. That was in the top of the 5th inning. Bottom of the 5th, Miller doubles to lead off the inning. Straw then doubles off the left field wall with 2 out, and that scored Miller. So we have a 2-2 ball game. Kapler at that point pulled DeSclafani and brought in Jose Alvarez, and Alvarez got Quan to ground out to second base to end that threat. But you had a 2-2 ball game, going to the late innings in Cleveland, and then the Giants broke through in the 8th. Belt had an infield single. Ruff then struck out. Slater then was sent up there, and he came through with a single. Crawford then walked, so he had the bases loaded, and Wilmer Flores coming up. And Wilmer Flores hits a fielder's choice that scored Belt to make it a 3-2 lead for the Giants. And then Slater scored on a wild pitch, a couple pitches later, and 4-2 was the score at that point. McGee came on in the 8th inning. Giants could not add to their lead at all. And I didn't watch the bottom of the 9th all the way through because I was getting ready doing I was watching some of the Warrior game at that point. But overall, I think if you're a Giants fan, you got to feel really good. One, the Giants have now won 3 straight series to begin the year. They got out hit today. They got out hit 8-5 and still win the game 4-2. Why do you have to feel good? Well, there's a number of reasons, really. But Brandon Belt is number one. 2 for 5, drove in 2, hitting 375. The other reason I think you got to feel really good is that the Giants are 6-2 in the first 8 games of the year. And look at some of these averages. Ruff's hitting 172. Yaz is hitting 182. Slater's hitting 133. Crawford's hitting 167. Estrada's hitting 207. Duggar's hitting 200. You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You have 6 guys hitting under 207 that play every day. And you're still 6-2 out of the gate because you've pitched exceptionally well. The Giants pitchers have allowed 19 runs in 8 games. So the pitching looks tremendous, and the pitching may carry them. I still think they're going to have to hit to be if they have any designs on winning the NL West, they got to hit. And that's a little bit of a concern because they have so many guys that aren't hitting. But what do you think, Ryan? Do you think the offense comes around? Do you think, Farhan makes an addition? This guy says, I'm concerned with Yaz. Yaz, his numbers right out of the chute have not been good.
Yeah. mean, to be honest, I kind of tempered my expectations at the beginning of this Giants season just because last year was so crazy and it just was seemed so out of nowhere. And man, they just seem like they're kind of continuing where they left off a little bit. I mean, yeah, the bats aren't there in the same way. They're not popping off as many home runs, but I don't know. I weirdly kind of trust this team. And
I know
yeah,
they're a winning team.
yeah, they just, I
Seriously,
mean,
they are a winning team. They're going to win.
yeah.
Susan Slusser, who's the Giants beat writer for the Chronicle, really smart reporter. I think one of the best. I think she's really one of the best. And everybody was saying 83, 84. Vegas had them at 85 and a half.
Yeah.
I heard an interview that she did. She's like, this is a 91 team. And she said it with such conviction. And I'm thinking to myself, you know what? Damn, if she's right. She's absolutely right. This is a 90-win baseball team. And then after watching Rodon and Logan Webb, what's a better 1-2 in the National League right now than Rodon and Logan Webb?
By the way, how awesome is it that I mean, I love everything Gosman did for us last year, but how awesome is it that we have Rodon for like, I think 2 for 44, and he's 2 years younger than Gosman. And then Gosman got locked up to like 5 for 110. I think he's
22 a year for 5 as opposed to 22
for
a year for 2. Yeah, I mean,
I
brilliant
think
by Farhan.
Yeah, all of us watching last year, Gosman got off to that crazy start, and I don't know if it's the spider tech thing or whatever, but he was not going deep into games. That almost, it seemed like that entire second half of the year, he was getting pitch count way too high. His splitter wasn't there. So yeah, I'm just stoked. I'm so stoked on the staff. And today, like you were saying, they just kind of didn't beat themselves. And I mean, that 8th inning, I don't really know how, like, they scored 2 runs, but that fielder's choice, in my mind, I was watching it and it was like, I was like, oh God, man, we really double play. And it was just kind of a weird thing, and it wasn't like a completely clean transaction between the shortstop and the second baseman. And we scored. Then Estrada kind of flashes the bunt sign or the bunt and pulls it back, and it, throws off the catcher. I'm not sure. Wild pitch, another run scores. And then, yeah, I mean, the ninth, I think, it's like what, Ned was saying, it's execution. And it's like, that's boring to say, but that's the Giants,
They're a smart team. I mean, and they have a really good rotation. I mean, think about their rotation. You got Logan Webb. You got Carlos Rodon. Alex Cobb looked incredible.
Yeah.
He looked great. He looked really, really good. DeSclafani is mid-90s. Alex Wood works fast. They play great defense behind him typically because he does work fast. And he's pretty dependable. I mean, I'd lean on Alex Wood in a playoff situation. I trust him that much. So their rotation is legitimately good. And they have more strikeout guys, so that's going to help their defense that much more. Then how about the bullpen today? The Giants bullpen went 4 1/3, gave up 3 hits and no runs. This Cleveland team, coming into this series, was averaging 11 runs per game. They had scored 44 runs in their previous 4 games, 11 runs a game. And they have now played the Giants in 2 games, and they've scored 3 runs in 18 innings. And they were scoring 11 a game.
Crazy.
So the Giants pitching top to bottom, it's not just the rotation. The bullpen's stacked. They got a bunch of guys in the pen that look good. If they overuse their pen like anybody, any bullpen that gets overtaxed is going to be hurting. But if they can get decent innings from their starters, today Dominic Leone got the win. McGee gets the save. They're just,
you missed.
What can you say? 4 1/3 of scoreless relief.
Yeah. So you missed the bottom of the 9th for good reason. That was stressful. I thought that was going to be a tie ball game because it was. There was a couple situations where he almost walked, bases loaded, and it was like 3-2. Just these kind of crazy battles, and I got to give it to him like that. McGee, he pulled it out, and he just, Kapler just stuck with him. So my question is like, I just love the idea of having like a reliable closer that's like our guy. And, I get like if we're going to be rotating back and forth between the two of them, but how cool is it last year, heading into the playoffs, and in the playoffs, like Duvall was just so good. And he just seemed it seemed like he almost was like getting on the national scene. And it was like, wow, this guy, his heartbeat doesn't go above a certain level and he's got crazy stuff. And I just don't know, like ultimately he has the highest upside. He seemed, the possibility of becoming like an everyday closer. But, do you think that he would get, or do you think he's going to get that leash to kind of go through his moments and, he's going to blow a couple games? But
it's hard to say. I would say no. I don't. I don't
Okay.
think they're going to give it to him because I just think that their whole game plan is to always look for the mismatch.
Mhm.
They're looking for as many mismatches as far as pitcher hitter situations on both sides of it. They're looking for mismatches, so they're always going to play the matchup game, and I think that's better because for a young guy like that, with he takes the ball all the way back. And I just think that the last thing you want to do is have everybody studying him. You don't want him in the crosshairs of the advanced reports. If you use him in a rotation with other guys, um, that's probably the best route. The other thing that Kapler does is that Kapler looks at the game, and if sometimes he wants to use Camilo as his closer, but then the big closing situation is the seventh. And so we saw that on last week where he used McGee and Doval in the seventh, and he closed with Alvarez, or maybe it was the eighth, and he closed with Alvarez in the ninth. But I think that's an advantage. I think it's an advantage when if think about it, if you're one of these hitters, what do these pinch hitter people do? They study the pitcher that they're going to face in the ninth. So do you want their left-handed hitters studying Doval the entire game, or do you want them kind of surprised by the fact that Doval's in the game? I'd rather keep the opposition guessing when it comes to who's going to be in what situation. I think you got a truckload of relievers that you can kind of use in different ways. I mean, there's other guys behind that. They're even Kervin Castro with his big curveball and his 96-mile-an-hour fastball. He'll be back out of the minor leagues at some point. They'll use him. To me, Brebbia looks quite a bit better than what I remember from last year. So maybe they feel confident in Brebbia in certain situations. Jose Alvarez has got, somewhat unflappable nature to him. Maybe they'll use Alvarez at times to close, especially if you're looking at the ninth inning and you've got some left-handed hitters, or you think they're going to use some pinch hitters and get a lefty on one of your righties and you want to save Alvarez. So I think they're going to mix and match. I think they're going to mix and match all season long in the pen, and I kind of like it. I kind of like it. Basically, Randy 415. He says this comment. He says Cobb is an off-season steal, which I would agree with. And then here we go. Ryan getting ripped. Ryan, you need to relax, bro. Have some faith.
I think it was the combination of I had the two screens and I was like, okay, Warriors game's close. Oh, Steph's not starting. Oh, and now we're gonna blow.
You're being told to relax. Right. Bro, you need to relax. I always love that when people say you need to relax. Rebel 444 says, well, yeah, I agree. It's about high leverage spots, and that's not always the ninth. So, yeah, I mean, and the nice thing about Kapler is I think he recognizes, sometimes he wants to go for it, but he wants to go for it and use his top guys in the seventh. I actually think that if you go formula, which many teams have done in the last 25 years. When I say formula, I mean, this is my seventh inning guy. This is my eighth inning guy. This is my ninth inning guy, right? If you go with formula, I think that there's a comfort zone in the regular season to this is our formula. But if anybody ever beats your formula, it feels like they're one-upping you. So I kind of like the committee closer and the we'll use anybody in any role closer. You keep the dialogue going with your guys game to game, but I think that makes them much more resilient. Then it's, what? Hey, you know what? I'm not using you in the eighth. Well, it doesn't matter because I've been used in the 4th, the 5th, the 7th, the 9th. It doesn't matter when you use me. As opposed to, I'm a 9th inning guy, and now it's the playoffs, and he's using me in the 7th. What should I think? Don't think anything. Just go out there and get guys out. I think relievers are more resilient, and I'd rather enter October with a closer by committee and resilient relievers who have pitched in countless different situations than the formulaic 7th, 8th, 9th. I mean, if you had an ideal, if you had the Reds 1990 pen with Norm Charlton and Rob Dibble and Randy Myers, and it was just lights out guys, then I guess maybe you could go with your formula. But even so, what if somebody beats your formula? What if suddenly the Norm Charlton inning has 5 right-handed hitters in a row? You're still going to run him out there in the 7th inning as a lefty against 5 right-handed hitters in a row? Probably not. You're probably going to play the matchup game. So I like playing matchups, but I also like mixing it up, and I like not giving my opponent a real solid feel for, hey, these are the guys you're going to face in the 7th. This is the guy you're going to face in the 8th. This is the guy we're going to face in the 9th. And then allow the other manager to kind of set up his pinch hitters, to fit what he knows you're going to do. If he doesn't know what you're going to do, how does he try to combat it? So I like the way Kepler's doing it, even though it may feel helter-skelter and it may feel kind of unsettled. I think unsettled actually works in your benefit by the time the playoffs roll around. Is that a crazy notion? What do you think?
No, you've completely convinced me. I totally agree. I mean, it's kind of, there's that comfort you're right. There's the comfort of saying you've got the closer, you signed the big name closer or whatever. In a way, it's a little bit similar to like, Shanahan and his running backs. It's like everybody in theory, it's like, man, how nice would it be to have Derrick Henry or Christian McCaffrey? But like in reality, like, I don't know, like it's good to have a stable guys. But yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah, I mean, well, and that's another one too. If you have one back, then they can study how to defend that one running back. But if you got a can full of backs and they all have different skill sets and they all thrive in your offense, to me, man, I would hate to defend that because you just don't know. Okay, we're going to take away the A gaps. Yeah, but they got this running back that gets to the edge at will, and Raheem Mostert. All right, we got to make sure we defend the outside zone run play. All right, well, what about, they're going to use Jeff Wilson on certain downs, and he's going to, cut it back up in there through the A gaps. Okay, well, what do you do then? How about a JaMychal Hasty? Sometimes you lose sight of JaMychal Hasty. Why? Because he's 5'7", and you don't always see him, and suddenly he becomes a great guy to dump it off in the flat to, because defense can't account for a player they can't see. So it's interesting. A guy says we beat that formula when we played Kansas City in the World Series in 2014. Absolutely. Kansas City remember their lights out pen? It was incredible. They had a great bullpen, 3 real power arms, but they wanted to use those guys in the 7th and the 8th and the 9th. And I think it was Kelvin Herrera in the 7th. And then it was, who was the 8th inning guy for the Royals? Wade Davis, I believe, was the 8th inning guy. And then they had another guy, was it Finnegan in the 9th? I forget exactly who their 9th inning guy was. But they had lights out reliever, lights out reliever, lights out reliever. And, if you have 3 stars, you can't lose. But if you're playing matchup games, and man, I'd have to almost be convinced that playing the matchup route is not wise, because look, there's so many hitters that you look at their splits and they're hitting 320 off right-handed pitchers, but they're hitting 077 off lefties. Well, when a guy's got splits like that, man, you want to throw a lefty at him, And so to me, it just seems like, I'm not a huge fan of the 3 batter rule, but it did kind of negate the, Javi Lopez, Romo.
Yeah.
In some ways, it negated what the Giants had in 10, 12, and 14, where you had a right-handed hitter come up in the 9th. Well, we'll start the 9th with Romo. Oh, the second guy's a left-handed hitter. Here comes Javi Lopez. And the Giants would play those righty-lefty matchup games with Boch, and man, it worked.
God, I
And so
love
baseball
seeing
countered it
more
with this
guys come in.
3-batter rule.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I
You know,
totally
and,
right.
and I don't know if it's made the game better, but it's kind of negated the super nasty lefty or the righty who just dominates right-handed pitchers, right-handed hitters. Now, you got to take your chances. If you got some righty specialist, you got some lefty specialist, you got to make sure that, not just can they get out the guy that you want them to get out, but can they get out the next two guys? Or can you get them out of the game fast enough before those guys start to burn you? So I'll tell you, juggling a bullpen has never been more difficult. In some ways, I like the 28-man roster that baseball has right now. Now, granted, it's only there because of the pandemic, but I'd be fine if they kept it 20. It's at 26 right now, but I'd be okay if they added a couple extra spots because to me, that makes the game more interesting. And I think you can play more matchup game. You can match up. You can have 4 lefties in a pen, or 3 really good lefties in a pen, because you've got extra guys. And to me, I think that, especially in a sport like baseball where you need to rest guys. And what happens is over the course of a season, you start resting guys. It's like you're trying to win a game and that team's got 26 guys and you've got 23 guys. And it's hard to win in situations like that when you're operating on a short bench. I thought that was one of the things that the Dodgers and the Giants have done exceptionally well the last couple of years, is that it's not about your 25-man roster anymore. It's about your 40-man. It's about how good's your 40-man. When you need a guy at AAA and you make that phone call down to wherever, for the Dodgers, I think it's Oklahoma City, for the Giants at Sacramento, the guy coming out of the minor leagues is going to have to play tonight. And how's he going to do? And that was one thing I thought last year with the Giants, is that every single guy, pitcher or hitter, that they called out of the minor leagues stepped into the major leagues and was ready to roll. I mean, you got to credit the Giants minor league system, because they had those guys ready to roll night after night after night. And they used their 40-man liberally. And then somebody would come out of the minor leagues and they'd come up in a big pinch hitting situation and they would come through time and time again. It was an amazing thing to watch. It really was.
It was unreal.
So that's going to do it for us, man. 2 hours. We went 2 hours and 6 minutes. We did Warrior post, a little Giants post. Happy Easter to everybody out there. I'd like to thank everybody who participated today on the show. I'd like to thank Cyrus and Kylan for being our guest today. Thanks to you, Rye. Thanks to Len Dempsey and all the good people with the Krueg Show. And make sure that you hit the like and subscribe button, and be sure to extra sure to hit that notification bell so you can catch all of the upcoming shows. Love doing this. We're having a lot of fun. People in the chat. Aguay called ED, said, "Thank you for Bay Area Sports Talk." Well, and then Rebel 444 has a good one here too. He says, "I hope Junior Marte becomes another filthy arm in the bullpen for us." Have you seen Junior Marte at all for the Giants?
I hate to say it, but I have not.
Right-handed reliever, looks really, really good. Randy 415, Randy C 415 says, "Happy Easter, love y'all." Yeah, happy Easter, everybody. You got big plans tomorrow? What do you got going on tomorrow, Ryan?
Oh, actually, so we're doing a little Easter brunch and then driving back to LA. So, because I know we have no show tomorrow, so seemed like a good time to do it.
You going back to LA just for the day or for a week, or what do you?
I got to go back to LA and just get like the rest of my stuff, and then I'll dart right back down here.
Gotcha. All right. Well, safe travels driving back and forth to LA. You're doing it not one day, right?
Not in one day. We'll probably do some shows. I'll probably be in LA for a couple days and then decide to fly down.
Gotcha. We got a couple guys here. A guy called Ed. Okay, sorry. A guy called Ed. I've been calling him a guy called ED. A guy called Ed. Charlie says, "Happy Easter all." Charlie says, "Always a great show, Larry. Thanks." This is a good one too. Sean D says, "You guys gave me my Saturday night sports talk fix. I'm Addicted. I didn't notice this. Rebel 444. LA stands for Lost Again. Dodgers lose tonight?
No, I think they're up right now.
Oh, are they? Check that out. Maybe before we get out of here.
Yeah,
They're playing the
let's-
Reds at Dodger Stadium, aren't they?
God. I got to say also, I'm hoping I'm bringing some good luck by moving back to the Bay Area because I moved to LA and it was nothing but freaking championships. It was the worst. Yeah, they won 5-2.
5-2 LA. Well, it's going to be a battle. It's going to be a battle. Anyway, hey, thanks to everybody who participated. Great show, as always. I'll say that myself. We're off tomorrow. We're not going to do any live streams tomorrow. So we're going to take Easter Sunday off. Got to do the family thing and see my in-laws and probably eat some ham, maybe some turkey, hopefully some fresh fruit. Go to church in the morning. Got to do all that stuff. And Easter Sunday. So a lot of, it's a great time of year for sure. And then we got an incredible week. In fact, let me tease what we have coming up this week because we do have a phenomenal schedule of guests coming up this week. Who do we have? Who do we have this week? Let me find my list here. We do have a great bunch of people coming on. Who is on? Okay, so this is what we got. Monday, we've got 10 a.m. in the morning on Monday. Grant Napier is going to be by for a live stream. We're going to do a regular hit with Grant. So we'll get his thoughts on the Warriors. We'll get his thoughts on the NBA playoffs beginning this weekend. So he will join us at 10 a.m. on Monday. And then Giants-Mets is a 4:10 start. And then the Warriors play Denver at 7 o'clock. So we're going to do the same thing on Monday that we did today, which is we won't do a post game right after the Giants game. We'll wait until Warriors ends, and then we'll do a post with Cyrus and Kylan and all of your chats and and maybe even some of your video calls, and we'll talk Giants and Warriors Monday night. So Grant Napier, 10 a.m. on Monday, and then Cyrus and hopefully Kylan as well on Monday night. And then Tuesday, the great Sam Amick's going to be in the house. I love Sam Amick. You a Sam Amick fan at all?
Love Sam Amick.
Yeah, Sammy's great. We'll do a live stream Tuesday at 2 o'clock with Sammy, and then we'll have a little post game edition on Tuesday night. And I'm not sure who's going to be by Tuesday night, but it may be Marty Lurie stopping by. We'll check in with Marty hopefully on Tuesday night, and then Wednesday, Vish Kumaran will do a live stream with Vish talking Niners at noon, and then Wednesday at 3 you can catch me on the Cone Zone with Grant Cone. And then the Giants play the Mets at 4:10 on Wednesday, and we'll do post game on Wednesday night. And Peacon's going to join us. Patrick Connor will be back on Wednesday night, confirmed with Patrick, and we're excited about that. And then Thursday, Giants play the Mets, but it's a morning game. It's a 10:10 start. So Ryan and I will be with you in the post game after that morning game for a little live stream Giants post game, maybe around 1 o'clock on Thursday. And then Kyle Posey from Niners Nation will stop by at 3 o'clock. And then the Warriors play Denver that night as well in Denver. I think that's game 3. So maybe Cyrus and Kylan will join us in the post game there. And then Friday, Jack Hammer, who does a Niners, big Niner guy. And he's one of we've never had him on the show before, but he will join us. We'll do a live stream with Jack Friday at 4 o'clock. And then Friday after the Giants and the Nationals, Evan Wiebeck is going to join us. Talk to Evan. Evan's the Giants beat writer for the San Jose Mercury News. He will be with us on Friday night. And then Giants Nationals will be a Saturday game at 10:05. And we're hoping to talk to Ned Clutty again after Saturday's game. And then Sunday, it's another one of those Giants Nationals in the morning, Warriors Nuggets at 12:30. So we will do a post game after kind of a combo Giants Warriors post game on Sunday. So we got a lot of live streams coming up, a lot of stuff on the Krueg show this week. This guy right here, the man on my left or right, Ryan Smith, is a big part of our channel. Thanks for coming over from the Corolla show. And then of course, Len Dempsey, part of our team as well. And we're going to, we're committed to putting out great Bay Area content. It's going to be a lot of Giants, a lot of Niners, a lot of Warriors, a lot of NFL draft as we get a little closer. Draft coming up on the 28th. So anyway, that does it for us. 2 hours and almost 15 minutes. It's about 10:15. No, it's about 10:40, I should say, on a Saturday night. So that's going to do it for us. And once again, thanks to everybody who participated. We really enjoyed doing these live streams. Hope everybody is enjoying it as much as we're enjoying it. And we'll hit the close right now.
Sorry, Larry. Before we go, just if anybody's still watching and maybe missed part of the show, all of these are going to be available via podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. Just search for the Krueg Show. All right.
Safe travels, my friend. We'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, never met a man I've been scared of. Careful, you won't get exactly what you asked for. Here for whatever you bring me, getting handled. I answer to no one, I don't need to hassle. Yeah.